guys, welcome. Sorry about that. I was actually on another show. I just went on there to, just smash the like button. But they seen me come on and they wanted me to come on. So I went on and I lost track of time. But I appreciate you guys waiting for me. The topic tonight, I don't have no videos. I don't have no pictures because it's just kind of like just to talk about it. I can tell you from experience, because I'm older than you guys. I grew up in the 80s, so it was a whole different time. But, you see the topic as a family sitting at a table and they're all on their phones. And this is kind of like what's going on out there. You know, um, this is real. And people got to realize, on top of you're on your phone. And listen, when I was a little kid, maybe if I could have played video games while I was eating, I would have did it too. But my father would have cracked me in the head because his generation was brought up much more old school than even me. So it goes down the line. My kid wasn't brought up as much as old school as I was, but I think the old timers had it right, and I think we got it wrong. The proof is in the pudding. You know, you look at it now, the divorce rate is out of control in this country. It says 45% of first marriages in the U.S. end in divorce. The drug overdose rate is through the roof in this country right now. Give you an example. We're not even going to go back to the 50s because if I go back to the 50s, it'll probably be like maybe 1,000 people had drug overdoses. But we're going to go from 1999. 16,000 people died of a drug overdose. Last year, 100,000 people died of drug overdose. So we're getting it's getting out of control. I mean, with these opiates and all this stuff that's going on out there, we have to do something. Whatever we're doing as a human race, it's not working. I think we got to go back a little bit. We got to rewind, Nothing wrong with having technology, but you shouldn't allow your children to sit at the dinner table with their phones. And maybe you're going to be on the phone too, and your wife's going to be on the phone. You see that picture I put there? That's like almost a typical family today. Everybody's like on their iPad or on their phone. Everybody's too busy to have a relationship with their family. And that's the most important thing, the family unit. When you sit down at dinner and you're not on phones, what are you going to do? You're going to eat and you're going to talk to each other. You're going to say, hey, what'd you do today? That is important, very important. People need to talk to people, not just sit on their phone. And the phone is programming people. Because they show you in a couple of these shows that they do things on purpose to get your endorphins going. They hit you with lights in the phone. You get excited. Sometimes they're not even real. It's robots talking to you. So we got to wake up, and let me just go over the chat a little bit. I want to thank you, Knowledge, for just coming down, showing the love. And Woody is regular. Crazy Frenchman, my Suzanne, my new co-host soon. When I blow up and I'm kind of on Joe Rogan scale, we're gonna have Sue Ann as my co-host when I can afford to pay her and tell her fly down here and we're gonna have our show. I'm gonna be setting up a studio eventually, a pretty nice one. I want to set up, not like this, like a real kind of a radio show. I just need a little more money, so when I get that, I think it'll get better. You can have guests on the show and things like that because I really feel good about talk shows and stuff. I like it. I enjoy this, And anybody let me drop a link for everybody. So if somebody wants to come on here, it's always good to have somebody on here you could talk to. I don't, Oh, so anyway, I'll go over it a little bit, like what I kind of mean as far as, the way families were back in the 80s. Like my dad. We had one TV in the living room and we had a little TV in the kitchen. Once in a while, we would watch TV in the kitchen, like when we're eating breakfast or something, going to school. I'd be watching the Flintstones or something before I went to school, eating my breakfast. But it was just one television, okay? My father could afford it to put 2 or 3 more TVs in the house, put one in my room, one in, his bedroom. But they didn't do these things because people just didn't think that way. We all sat down and watched TV together. And that's how it was. I remember to this day, my favorite show was Sanford and Son. It was on Friday night. It was like 8 o'clock. And my father loved San Francisco because we loved Red Fox. He was funny. You know, when he talked about like his ugly sister-in-law Esther and stuff, he used to do, I'm dying. You know, I loved Red Fox. He was funny. Live, he was dirty though. I seen him live. He was a filthy comedian, but I still loved him. But we used to all sit. Like I would actually like the kids were sitting on the floor, you know, and my father was sitting on the couch like he was a king with his legs spread out. My mother would sit in the corner and the kids be on the floor. We would have pillows, you know, me and my brother, and we would all watch TV together. And it was great. I don't see that anymore. You know, the kids in the room playing Xbox Live, the other kids on the computer, you know, and then the parents are on their computers. So these are the things that we're not doing that are damaging relationships with our family and relationships with our children. And we have to go back. We have to, you know, you got phones and stuff in your house. You got to tell your kids, don't get on the cell phone while we're eating. And they have to come and eat at a certain time. See, if I wasn't home to eat at like 6 o'clock, I was still outside playing. I wasn't getting nothing to eat. That was it. I go to bed hungry. And the problem is parents can't do that today. They feel bad. They sent their kid to bed hungry. My father did it like once and he never had to do it again because I knew if I didn't get home, I wasn't eating. Now, if I was a couple of minutes late, my father wasn't going to like, you know, not make me eat, you know, but he could tell if I really meant to get home. I'd be out of breath walking through the door. You know, is dinner ready? You know, so we got to go back to the old ways. I mean, divorces in the 50s were like 2 people per 1,000. Now it's like up to like 20 people per 1,000 per year or something. There's like a crazy stat. It's like 10 times more divorces now than like 1950. So they were doing something right back then. Okay. They were actually communicating with each other. Even people, you walk out of your house, you're lucky if you have a decent neighbor that'll say hello to you. I lived in a building in Miami with like, you know, on the one floor, I had 4 neighbors. Every floor had like 4 apartments. I'm lucky if I knew 2 of those people on the whole building. And I seen them all, but they would never say hello. I would even look at them to say hello and they would like turn their back on me. This is how people are. It's not their fault. They're being programmed. Them phones, those computers, all the stuff that we're looking at, even we're on YouTube. We got to say codes. You know, we're being programmed. And we have to realize this stuff. You know, and this is basically what my show, you know, I wanted to bring up some stuff in the 80s, like the difference between families then and families now. And even like religion, you know, whether or not you went to church. My father wasn't a big church guy. He went to church sometimes, but he was always speaking about the Almighty God. You know, it wasn't like once in a, you know, it was like consistently 3, 4, 5 times a week. Just mention it. Like, you know, you got to thank God that you even got, you know, that you're eating, you know. You have to be happy for what you have, and people tend to forget about him too much. So that's another thing I think people have to do, where people in the 50s were definitely more religious, no matter what religion. It could be Christian, it could be... And hold on, my son's coming here, so it must be my microphone.
No, fix the formatting on the bottom of your screen.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. My son came in to give me a hint, like a little... he said the formatting is not good on the camera. But, you know, we have to go back. We if we keep moving forward in the direction we're doing, we're going to be like robots. I mean, look at this thing that Zuckerberg's coming out with, the metaverse. I mean, the word meta anyway, I think in Hebrew means death. So what are they giving you? A hint? Like you're going to die when you start getting involved? I mean, what are we all going to go in a virtual reality with these glasses and we're not even going to communicate with people? Because people need people. You know, I lived in Brooklyn. Every Saturday and Sunday, all the people, because people didn't work on Saturday, okay? This working on Saturday is ridiculous. Like people worked 5 days a week and that was it. If you worked an extra day, you made so much money on that extra day that it was like double, triple your salary, you know, what you normally made in a day. So today, it's like they make you work 6 days a week like a slave, right? But back then, it was 5 days a week. So every Saturday and Sunday, if it was decent weather, everybody on a whole block, it was 61st Street in Brooklyn, okay? We're talking like 20 houses on each side of the street, would all come out with beach chairs, and all the parents would sit outside, and all the kids were playing outside in the streets, on the sidewalks. If cars were coming down the block, they would slow down. In those days, there weren't animals, people. They didn't drive like lunatics, and there was so many kids in the street, they just couldn't like drive like a lunatic. But the key is that's what people used to do. Neighbors knew neighbors. It was like block party, but we called it a stoop party. I think Sue Ann told me that once. She goes, "Yeah, we had stoop parties." So we need more of that community too. You need your community. People, there's no more. I don't see block parties anymore. Very rare. You're gonna go see. Some people don't even know what a block party is. So I'll just make it quick. A block party, like once a year, the block would have this like block party that would block off the entrance so nobody could drive down. There'd be no cars, and they would have rides for the kids, all kinds of stuff for the kids, and it'd be like everybody's barbecuing outside in the front. They would collect money each house, say $20 a house, to pay for the rides and things like that. It was awesome. There ain't no more of that. And there's a few reasons, because you've been programmed. People have been programmed to only care about themselves. Very selfish society we live in. It's not really our fault. When I say you're selfish, it's not your fault, really. You've been programmed. You have to realize you've been programmed. It's from school all the way through TV. Now the phones and these iPads and even the computer, they're cancer. It's cancer. You go on the computer, it is amazing. All the stuff's popping up on your screen. You're in social media. I mean, you're doing all this stuff, and you're just little by little being programmed, even being programmed by people on the internet, Half these people, you don't even know if they're real that you're talking about. They're offended by a word you said. I mean, we're getting to the point where we have no freedom of speech anymore. Everything has to be politically correct, But, I mean, there's just so many things in the 80s. Being that Mike's, are you there, Mike? I don't even know if you're there.
Yeah, I'm here, bro.
So, I mean, even from when my son grew up till now, it was different. He grew up in the 90s, He was born in the 90s. He grew up, let's say in the early 2000s and late 90s. It was even different then. I mean, it wasn't as good as it was when I was a kid, but we're in
It went from like, I was on the tail end of the generation of kids that played in the street. You know what I'm saying? And when like video games and stuff started going on, and, when the neighborhood started getting crazy, you know what I'm saying? A lot of the kids started going inside, and they really haven't come back out. And I think that was the goal. They wanted to force these kids into the virtual reality so that they could, you know what I'm saying, create that echo chamber and then create the false narrative of what this world really is.
Yeah, I mean, if you go in some neighborhoods still today, and I'm going to say the poorer neighborhoods, there are kids playing in the street. Only because they don't got an Xbox, baby, or, and a lot of the poor neighbors, the kids got Xboxes. They're in there playing. But what I'm trying to say is I tend to see the not rich neighborhoods, the kids that are even below, not middle-class neighborhoods.
You're right. When we lived in the DR, I seen kids playing outside because it was like a third world country. They don't really have a lot of technology over there.
Right.
You know what I mean? The poor neighborhoods out there, and it was rough.
Right. Like in the DR, I lived there 5 years, right? And it was like America used to be. I drove down the street and I seen hundreds of kids in these giant parks playing baseball. I was like, you don't see that in America no more. Now we did. We were out in the street playing baseball. We were playing football, basketball at the park, playing baseball. You couldn't stop us. We were playing sports all day. And that's why we weren't fat on top of it. And then at night we were playing like, I don't know if anybody knows what manhunt is, things like that, chasing each other, freeze tag. We were always entertaining each other. We didn't need Xbox and phones, and it was definitely better. There's no doubt. You could go on a video game all you want, but it's not the real thing. It's not like you're in person. But don't get me wrong, I did play video games. We had a Nintendo and stuff, but I played it at night, or I played it on a day it rained. I didn't even want to stay in the house. I didn't care about video games. So how did we go from this to that? And it's not that long of a time. It's like one generation. I had my kid, and now the kids that he's having, they're growing up in this generation of living on your phone. I mean, parents are buying their kids iPhones at 10 years old, like $500 iPhones. I mean, what are you doing? Like, why? Why are you buying your kid a phone at 10? Does your kid really need a phone at 10 years old? I see it. I know one of my friends, her daughter was 7, She had a phone and she was texting with her friends, talking on the phone. She didn't have access to actually call anyone, but she was on the internet, right? So she was doing Wi-Fi. And the conversations these 7, 8 year olds were having were like almost adult-like. I was like,
Yo,
holy
you
cow.
you didn't even want me to have a phone at like 14. You know what I'm saying? And like, it didn't even have nothing on it. It just was able to call people, and it had the snake game. And you were like, nah, that's too much. You're like, you don't need a phone.
No, I didn't believe in, children. Like we got to spoil our children in certain ways, like to make them grow up faster. I wanted my son to be a kid. I don't. Today, parents seem like they're trying to even talk to their children like adults. They're trying to like make their children at like 6, 7 years old adults. I didn't want my kid to be an adult at 7. I wanted my kid to be a kid. Go out and play with rocks. I don't need you to know what's going on in the world. That's my worries. Though you don't need to worry about that. You need to be a kid and enjoy your childhood, because a lot of children, they're all stressed out now. I know 8, 9, 10-year-olds. I'm stressed out. I can't take because they know too much. They know too much of what's going on. Like even death. I never taught my son anything about like you're gonna die one day and all this shit. Like people are teaching their kids things they don't need to know at a certain age. I'm not saying ignore it. If your kid asks you a question, you could just tell them, like say one of your relatives died, they went up to heaven, you tell them, but you don't got to like get into details and tell them you're going to die one day. I mean, parents are like crazy now. They're teaching their kids things that you don't teach a child. You just let a child be a child. And people don't want that. Then, on top of that, people, they complain about their kids like playing too much. They're hyper.
I got to fix something. People can't get on your stream.
Oh.
I'm going to set it to where they don't have to authenticate.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I had something. My son just fixed the setting. I had to authenticate on here. I don't know why, but must have did it by accident. But, I believe children have to be children. If you're not willing to let your child be a child, then when your child grows up all messed up in the head, and the first thing they want to do is put your kid on medicine, psychs. They wanted to try to put my son on medicine. They said he had, that attention disorder in school. I was like, listen, he's a kid. All these kids have it. What do you want to give it to everybody? They're kids. They have energy. That's what they're supposed to do. If my kid didn't have energy, I'd be worried. There's nothing wrong with your child. Look, there are exceptions. There are children out there that are really just, they're out of control. But a normal kid could be a little out of control. He's a child. Let him be a little wild. Let him be a little, he talks a lot in class. So what? Every kid is different. I talked a lot in class. I mean, what's the big deal?
Hey, yo, what's up, dog?
Hey, how you doing? It's
Hey, what's up,
special
Pops?
guest tonight, War Child, baby. How you doing?
How you doing? Doing great.
Um,
And you're what's your name, bro?
oh, that's
Hey, yo,
Mike.
I'm Mike.
Mike? What's up,
Yeah.
Mike?
Yeah, the comment on the screen took our name off, I think, on names.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I
hold
seen
on.
the names.
Yeah,
Yeah.
War Child is no delusion. Hey, you got a
Yeah.
fan?
Nah, I know them. We're just playing around, man.
Oh,
Yeah.
so we're talking about War Child, like, kind of, I don't know how old you are.
I'm 40.
All right, so you're kind of like, you're a generation even past my son, so you kind of understand.
Yeah, most
like
definitely.
with these phones today. I mean, the picture on my thing was the whole family's on their cell phones at a dinner table, and it's not supposed to be that way. And that was the point. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't allow that, and like I'm not with my son's mother, but she doesn't allow that as well. Like, there's no phones allowed when we're eating. You know what I mean?
That's
But
great.
yeah, no, I totally agree.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I understand we're in a technology world, but you have to have some type of rules so kids grow up with some type of morals. Kids, grow up not just on their phone worrying about in social media. Like they had a study now that like 8-year-olds, like they have a group like from 8 to 12 have the highest suicide rate, like triple, quadrupled. 8-year-olds are committing suicide because they're on
No
their phone.
way. For real?
Yeah, and and they're getting stressed out. 8, 9, 10-year-olds are getting stressed out. I have a
That's
friend
weird.
that has a daughter. She's 8 years old. I swear, if you met her and spoke to her, you would think you were speaking to a 15-year-old. I mean, literally.
Yeah, but
They
I think a
crumble.
lot of that contributes to, like, for example, like Albert Einstein was considered a genius for like his times, but I don't know like if people are aware, but that's going to be considered the norm one day, right? So like as humans, as we keep advancing, like that's going to become the norm. Like humans are becoming more like intelligent. Like nowadays, you could like go on Google.
I disagree.
And you could see that there's a lot of kids that excel Albert Einstein's IQ nowadays.
I disagree.
Go ahead, give it to him. Whatever
You-
your opinion is, go ahead.
The average child can't do math without a calculator or a piece of paper.
Bada bing.
Okay.
Well, I'm gonna go both ways because I think as far as like emotions and relationship wise, like children today, like 8, 9 years old, they're almost like little Karens. They're out there like, oh, that offended me. Like, so they're kind of like matured with things that they shouldn't be. But when it comes to math, they're lucky they do math on their fingers. Forget about a calculator. They
yeah,
can't even comprehend doing a solution in their head. They got to use a computer. So I agree with that part.
yeah, but I'm not saying that we're at that stage now. What I'm saying is that's where we're heading.
Or you mean more or less like maybe even a maturity level, kind of like they're maturing
Like
quicker?
in the future, not now, but in the future, like Albert Einstein's like IQ will be the norm.
You know what's crazy? Albert Einstein, if you ask Nikola Tesla, he'd tell you he's an idiot. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
well, he had Asperger's. Like so does Nikola. So does what's his name? Damn, I don't remember his name right now. But a lot of people have Asperger's. The guy that makes Facebook, the guy that owns Tesla, like they have Asperger's.
I mean, that's
See-
what they say. I think they're just, I think they're cyborgs.
See,
That's
I
my own
don't.
opinion.
I can't see kids getting smarter today. I'll be honest. I think they're getting dumber. They may be getting smarter in certain things,
Yes.
but school isn't even teaching them things that are going to be in the future. Like today, schools should be teaching like robotics, like in say high school, not in like 5th grade, but like teaching robotics, electronics. They should be teaching kids stuff that they're going to be able to make money in the future because the
Yeah.
way we're going is going all technology, right? And they're not even teaching kids. I mean, you're still going to need electricians, plumbers and so kids aren't even learning trades, which trades today a lot of them pay better than college graduates. You're an electrician. I got a friend that's an electrician. He makes over $100,000 a year. Okay, and he works for a company. It's not like it's his own. How many college graduates come out with a 4-year degree and make $100,000 today? Not too many.
You know what's the big problem, Pops? You got kids today, they don't teach them how to think, so they don't know how to solve problems. All they know is how to Google it, but if you take their phone away, they literally can't do shit. They're just like, duh.
Right. This is what I just said.
Yeah, that's true as well.
Yeah, man.
And they're not creative. Like, for an example, when I was a kid, I used to like Stratomatic. I don't know if anybody knows. It's like a baseball game where you use statistics and you roll dice. And I liked Monopoly. So one day I made a game like Monopoly. I cut out a piece of cardboard. I made all the cards, everything. And it was a baseball player game. So you would go around the board and you would buy baseball players. And then when you finished buying all the players, you would have a real game like Stratomatic. And I made this game. And one day I went into the store and they had something very similar to it. I was like, holy shit, they took my idea like 20 years later.
Yeah, that usually happens.
We were creative. Like I would take a cardboard box and make an army fort with like little plastic army men, and I would make trees, and we were creative. Roller skates, we used to rip them apart and put them on a skateboard and make a skate. Like kids don't do any of this
Damn.
today. They don't know what it is to create or make a go-kart, or they don't know how, and they're not creative.
Back in my day, all we had was a stick, and we liked it, and we were thankful for it.
Yeah. I mean, even
All we
that.
had was a stick and some mud, and maybe a bottle cap if we were lucky.
Oh, we used to play Skelly, a game with a bottle cap. Did anybody ever play that game? It's called Skelly.
When I was a kid, I had matches and Lysol.
Yeah, man.
Skelly
Yep.
is like a big square, and there's numbers 1 through like 13, and there's squares throughout the square, like on the sides. And you would get a bottle cap, and you melt a crayon in it. and you would like flick it, like you would shoot it. You'd be playing this in the middle of the street.
Did you
And
guys ever play with fire?
Mike, let me finish my Skelly mat.
Oh,
They
my
set
bad.
Everything on fire.
So, and you would shoot this bottle cap in the box, like hopscotch. You kind of got how to get it in, and whoever won kept everybody else's bottle caps. Like, and then we started using milk caps because you don't see shit like that no more. You don't see kids making snow forts, having snowball fights. I don't see any of this.
They
It's
do it
like-
online. They got virtual
Yeah.
snowballs.
Yeah, I mean, like, what happened? How did we get to this? It's crazy.
Because they can't go outside for more than 7 minutes. Otherwise, their mom will pull them inside because they might catch a cold.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like these kids get depressed. Like if when they go outside, it's like they don't know what to do. That's not all
It's
kids,
over.
but like if you kept me in the house, I would get depressed. Like
Yeah.
I would just sneak out. I was like, I can't do this. Like I
Yeah,
have
no,
to get outside.
It is what Pop said earlier, just a few minutes ago. I go out a lot. I'm out in public a lot. Okay, one of my jobs is I deliver food. I do the grocery shopping thing for people, and I interact with people a lot. And I've always been strong with crowds. Okay, it's one of my specialties, when you learn about anti-terrorism and stuff like that. So it's the reason I took the job. I like observing crowds, much like Shift. Shift is a crowd guy, and just the young people are like, they're like old grandmothers. They're like old Karens. You see 18, 20-something-year-old people, and they're acting like 60-something-year-old Karens. Oh my God, they are completely out of this item, and this is just ridiculous. And they just have a complete meltdown that they're out of an item, or that something isn't in the store that they want. Well, they don't have this, and this doesn't make any sense. And they spend 20 minutes pitching a bitch to nobody. And it's everything. It's everything. It's coffee or whatever the heck it is. I mean, it's just constant complaining because they're so used to having the world handed to them. Forget the learning a trade in school. Bring back how to raise chickens.
You're right.
But they haven't been teaching trades in school for a long time. I didn't learn the trade in school. Like
I'll tell you one thing: they're definitely not teaching kids today. They're not teaching them the Constitution. That's for sure.
Oh no.
They ain't teaching
But
them
what do you
got
really?
rights.
But like, what do you really learn in school? Like in public
You
school,
learn-
you don't
You
really
learn
learn
nothing.
anything.
Oh, in my day, we learned a little bit. Today, they learn absolutely nothing. And everything is useless. What they're teaching them today. They're teaching them basically their agenda.
Yo, you
No, it's
can't even have a
ridiculous.
snowball fight. It's assault now.
Bro, this shit is ridiculous. So like I got a 6-year-old, right? So last year when he was 5, they wanted a parent teacher meeting. So whatever, I go to the meeting, and they're trying to tell me that they want to put my son on medicine, bro, at 5 years old. So I'm like listening to them, and I'm like, all right, so what's the problem? And they're like, well, he's getting good grades, he finishes all his
Right.
work, so there's literally nothing wrong. And the only problem that they had was that he was like observing other things, like looking around and not only paying attention to them, but he was getting all his work done and getting good grades. So they got upset because I told them, I was like, well, I'm not going to put him on medicine. And honestly, you're telling me that's a problem, but I don't see a problem. You're telling me my son is capable of doing his work and doing it right and capable of observing around him at the same time. So what's the problem? And I'm like, I'm not putting him on medicine, none of that, right?
Mhm.
Or whatever. They got pissed off, bro. Like I went off on them.
By the way, we got in the house here. I don't know if anybody's ever seen his show. I recommend everybody drop your link. By the way, accountability. This is a guy that look. I
I'll
don't
get it.
I don't have to say it. When you go on there, you'll see it with your own eyes. This is a guy that he fights the fight. He don't just sit back in his chair and talk like most of us. Even me, I'm getting to the point. My son can tell you, I'm going to be out there somewhere. I don't know. I got a few ideas, and you're gonna see me live out there doing something crazy, but I have to do it because I can't put up with it no more. You know, his thing is cops. I'll be honest, my thing is devil worshippers. I can't stand it. I can't stand these satanic statues. They gotta come down. And if
I'll
I
go
gotta
with
go
you,
to,
Pops.
if I gotta go to jail to take a couple of them down. I think I'm gonna. I'm on the borderline right now. I'm on the edge of going to make a stand about something. We all got to make a stand somehow, some way. And you're gonna see me live, and I'm gonna film this shit, man. It may be great. I don't know, but I'm gonna be doing.
I've been watching the First Amendment audits for a long time. They've been around for, I mean, almost about as long as YouTube, and it's the most. I mean, people talk to me about, well, I don't watch, program television. Well, what do you watch? Oh, I watch reality television. Bitch, that ain't real at all. Like, you want to see some reality shit? Watch First Amendment audits and watch Accountability for All. Watch all of his friends, News Now Community, News Now Patrick, all of, a lot of the First Amendment auditors. I mean, that is genuine, real shit. No frills, no punches pulled television, real entertainment. It's the real deal.
He's getting like, listen, I don't know if you got, I honestly, I have the balls to do it. I don't know if I mean, he's getting in cops' faces telling them you're dismissed. Shh, shh. His favorite, he loves it. He told me it's his favorite thing. He's shushing cops and giving them the law. That I love when he asked them too, like, he'll ask a lot of cops, you know the Constitution? Oh, yeah? All right, what's the first one? What's the second one? Usually everybody knows the first, second, maybe even then he gets into like, all right, so what's the fifth and sixth one? What? And the cops, they don't know it. Okay, here you got police officers that don't even know the Constitution.
Amazing.
So he gives it, he just gives it to them in such a, it's almost like he's a comedian giving it to him too. It's like he's funny.
It's
you
great.
know, I watched his first show and I fell in love. I watched like 10 of them in one night because they were just, I was cracking up. I was laughing because there ain't nothing better than seeing a cop be told you don't know what the hell you're doing and do your job and stop, because, the young generation of police officers today, they're like tyrants. They really are. They're not like, people know I was a cop. I'm telling you, I was not even close to a tyrant. I was actually so opposite of what a cop was supposed to be because all I gave a shit was about the people, the safety of the people. That was it. I wanted a guy that was going to rob the little old lady's pocketbook. I wanted the kids to be able to play in a drug-free zone in the schoolyard. If you were selling drugs in the schoolyard, I was your worst enemy. I'll be honest. But I wasn't out there to like give people tickets. And I can't understand some cops. They were walking around in their own foot beat because I had a foot patrol, which I loved. I didn't want to be in a car. And they would walk around giving tickets to the people that lived in the neighborhood. And I told one rookie one day, I says, you got to understand, these people live here. This was in Manhattan, too, the Lower East Side. There was no parking. I said, when the shit hits the fan, those people are the ones that are going to drop the quarter in the phone to save your ass. I said, so you better stop busting the people's balls that live in this neighborhood. Go look for the criminal. Leave the regular working man alone.
What have you seen a guy smoking a joint?
I didn't even, but I used to work, sometimes they stick me on the train, right? So my key was this. You're going to see me, you're smoking a joint. If you're going to smoke it and blow it in my face to show me that total disrespect, we have a problem. But if you seen me and then you took the joint and you just like hit it behind your back just to show me that respect, I would never bother you. I would actually walk by and smile at you. I may even take a little sniff of it. But if you're going to do something to disrespect me, like, you don't see I'm in a blue uniform? Like, what am I, an asshole? You're going to just, like, break the law in front of my face? No, show me a little respect. That's all I asked for. But not, most of the cops were kind of like me in those days. But now, I literally feel some of these cops would give their own mother a speeding ticket. I really do. That's what type of tyrants we're dealing with.
Not only that, I mean, the tyrant thing is a big thing. Don't get me wrong. There's a whole can of worms we could talk all night about, but my favorite thing is people are completely dulled and numbed and dumbed down to the point where they're just completely delusional and oblivious to what's around them. What do I mean? I'm glad you asked. I'll tell you. Is that they'll be filming, and just like a public park, or an interesting looking building. Wow, look at this building. This is a neat building. And then you'll have 4 people come out. Well, what are you doing? I like your building. It's really neat. Well, you can't film me. I don't want to be on film. Then why did you come up to a camera? Why do you walk up to a camera and tell me you don't want to be on film? You could have just not come out and said anything, and you wouldn't have been on film. That's number one. Number two, your building is covered in cameras. You're on camera all the time. You're on camera all the time. You're on camera, from the time you pull into the parking lot, even a lot of cities. You look at banks and businesses, you walk in the supermarket, it's full of cameras. I mean, but I don't want you to film me. Are you stupid? Wait, you are stupid. I forgot.
But I
mean,
find
if you go out in public, you know what I'm saying? It's like going out and expecting people not to see you. You know what I'm saying? And like, if you're mad that someone's recording you, you're probably doing some nefarious shit.
like no, really, realistically, I don't know too many people unless like somebody that was a cop, or you are a cop, or that gets pulled over and doesn't get a ticket. Like a regular Joe gets a ticket. There's no getting away with it. They just give you the ticket. I used to let a warn and admonish everybody unless they were a total ass, like they were driving like so reckless they were all over the road. I used to just warn and admonish him. The guy went through the red light by a half a second. I'm gonna like sit there and write him up, and his insurance is gonna go up. These are the things I used to think of. Like, I don't want to hurt people in their pocket, but they don't think that way no more. It's like they don't have any compassion for people. It's just like, this is my job and I'm doing my job, and that's it. There's no humanity in these police officers, and I think of course they're trained to be that way. It's not their fault. They get into the academy and they pump all this shit in their head. This is the way you got to be, and they try to make the people the enemy, and people aren't the enemy. That's your job, is to protect them people. It's really sad what has become, but I mean, this is expected. As time goes on, it's going to get worse, though.
But why is it? It's what you were saying earlier. When you and I grow up in the 70s and 80s, going back to the Depression, what was it? It was officer friendly. It was the nice man in a nice uniform. You had to be a man of moral and character. That's who they actually wanted as a police officer. Okay. And everybody in the neighborhood knew each other, and they knew officer friendly. Hey, Marty, how you doing, Officer Wilson? Nice to see you. And, he'd get a sandwich, or, hey, how about a glass of lemonade? How you doing? And there would be a time where in America, what I'm talking about, Pops, New York was like this back in like the 50s. If there was a drug dealer or a child enthusiast in the neighborhood that came into town, all the men, and I mean fucking men, would go out after dark, and they would go find these people, and they bring them to a field in the middle of town, or they run them out of town, and the cops would just look the other way because they couldn't do it. They couldn't, in some cities, actually the cops could do stuff like that. Because the neighborhood would get together and slip them a little, an envelope and say, hey, we don't want this. Get these deviants out of here. We don't want this here. But it's different now. They took that power of being able to do what they want to anybody that they want, and they abused it. Just like, what they say, power corrupts. And it's true.
And they're not just either. Like, I mean, I'll give you an example. I don't want to say too much about this because it happened to be me. So, we get a call, and I get there, and the lady's really like a drug addict, and her baby, I don't know if it was intentional, but I pretty much think it was. Her baby had all these cigarette burns on its arm. It was crying. We got the call,
That's
baby.
intentional.
We got a call that there was a baby crying, bad. And so we got there and we got in there. So we seen all this, and I had a partner at the time. It wasn't my study partner. I said, do me a favor, take the baby and go out in the hallway and call, for an ambulance, a bus. I said, I just want to talk to her for a little while. And I don't want to tell you what happened, but she assaulted me. So I had to, arrest her, and, she was resisting arrest. She got hurt, but she assaulted me. She went for my gun. Cops don't do this stuff today. They're cowards. You understand?
Yeah.
Like there were things that you couldn't cross the line. Like Gunny said, in those days, I would look the other way and let them people tune that drug dealer up.
Like,
But they don't do.
People think that cops are not regular schmegular people. Listen, I have friends that are cops. My actual childhood friend was an MP, and she came out and she joined the police department, and so she's doing her shit. And I fear for the people in her municipality that she deals with, because she doesn't fuck around. I'm telling you, that is a fact. And for people to think that cops are not like normal. Listen, my best friend was a nurse dating a cop. Them two goofy ass picked me up, and he was driving. They picked me up, and we're gonna go out. And guess what I heard rattling all through his back seat was empty beer cans and beer bottles. Like cops are regular schmegular people. Like
They
people
are.
like.
But
Yeah,
in the
people don't
smaller
think that.
departments, though, so like Gunny was like what he said, like in the big police departments, they're not picking the right person for the job anymore. They're picking
No,
people
but
that
if you
don't
notice the
care
big
about
police-
people. They want
Yeah,
woke
but the big
police
police
officers.
departments are doing their own little the little interpersonal gangs.
Right.
They have their little they have the little boys club. Like they have and they divide within. And if you notice, big police departments are doing this goofy ass shit where they're not it's not all about all boys in blue. They're dividing within.
I agree with
Oh.
that up to a point, but what Gunny brought out a great point is when they hired cops back in the old days, they hired them. They wanted guys with morality, like that have morals.
Yes,
Today they don't
absolutely.
care about that. They actually want the opposite. They want somebody that has. They want a woke, no moral person. Like anything
I
goes.
agree with that whatsoever.
The
Yeah,
criminal has
yeah.
more rights than the citizen. And I'm talking about a criminal. I'm not talking about like. Here's what I really knew things were changing. I lived in the DR for 5 years, and then I came back to America. And I was on vacation only in America. I still went back. So I borrowed my friend's car. He had a nice Mercedes Benz, and I'm driving. My son was in the car. And all of a sudden, I look in the rear window, and I see like this dark van with lights. And I'm like, look, I'm pretty sure these are like undercover cops, they're narcs or whatever. I says, but I'm not sure if I should even pull over because I was a little spooked.
Yeah,
So-
you never know.
Finally, I pulled over anyway. I pulled over like in front of a really crowded parking lot. And I get out of the car. Okay. Now, I know you're not supposed to get out of the car, but I really don't know who these guys are. So I get out of the car to get a look at them quick. They come running at me, screaming, get the F in the car. No shields out. Okay. They're in plain clothes. I can see the vests are underneath their shirts. So I'm kind of putting two and two together. And they run up on me and slam me against the car. And I go, what are you doing? And they're going, oh, we don't like the way you're acting now. And they cuff me, right? So now I'm standing there, and I got my ID in my pocket, and I'm not saying shit. And actually, the inspector of this, which is a high rank in the police department, of this command, I coach his kid in baseball, but I wasn't going to drop his name. And I'm cuffed and I'm standing there. My son gets out of the car. He goes, I told you, because the cops, I lived in Staten Island. The cops in Staten Island, I hope they've calmed down, but they were worse than any New York City cop. The Staten Island cops, they weren't like a Brooklyn cop, or they cared about petty shit, right? So they got me cuffed, and then they start rolling the whole car. This is where I get pissed off. So now they're looking to find like a nickel bag of weed or something so they can arrest me, right? So I go, what are you looking for? They go, don't worry about it. So they roll the whole car. They don't find anything. And then I go, all right, are you done yet? So they go, no, we're not done. I go, well, you better get, I said, you better get these fucking cuffs off me. Go in my pocket. You're going to see who I am. And actually, I'm calling your fucking boss. And if you think I'm lying, I even dropped his name then, I'm not. So they go in my pocket. They pulled out my ID. They see I was, retired. And immediately the cuffs came off. We're sorry, apology after apology. And I looked at them and I said, I'm not the type of guy that I want to burn you guys and go into the house, station house right now. And it was right around the corner and start fucking making complaints against what you guys just did to me. I said, but let me ask you this. Why did you pull me over? You know what they said to me? I swear. Now they pulled me over. It was daytime. They said, well, you didn't have your headlights on. I go, what do you mean? They go, well, the sun was going down. It was like, when the sun starts to go down. I said, listen to me. First of all, that's a Mercedes. The fucking lights go on automatically when it gets dim. I said, so you could tell somebody else that story. It was sunny when I made that turn. I made a left turn. I says, right now, the sun's starting to go down. So you're full of shit. I said, I'm going to tell you what. I'm going to debate what I'm going to do. I said, I'm going to leave. I'm going to go home and think about this. And I'm not sure if I'm going to call your boss, and I dropped his name again, or I'm going to go into the station house and make a civilian complaint because what you just did was fucking ridiculous.
What about those scumbags when we were drinking coffee?
Yeah. Oh, and then
outside of the 7-Eleven drinking coffee.
Then two nights later, it was like 3 a.m. I was at my brother's house. My son came to see me because I was visiting. He hadn't seen me like in a year. And I was still up. So I said, Mike, let's go to 7-Eleven. We'll get a cup of coffee and we'll bullshit for a while. I wasn't tired. So it was like 2 a.m. Whatever. We walked to 7-Eleven. It was like 2 blocks away. Get our coffee. We're standing outside. And all of a sudden, the plainclothes, car rolls up. And they both get out. And they're looking at us like we're fucking criminals. So they come over to us. And they go, what are you doing here? I go, oh, I'm just having a conversation with my son. They said, yeah, but why are you here? Standing outside, the store. I says, well, we took a walk. We got some coffee. I says, I haven't seen my son in a while. I said, I live in the Dominican Republic. I came to visit. So they got their balls twisted for some reason. So they're looking at me. All of a sudden, another car rolls up, and it's the sergeant. He gets out. He goes, what's your guy's problem? And my son, I swear to God, he sniffles. He had like his nose was clogged. He goes like that, like to spit. He wanted to spit, I guess, out of snot or whatever. The sergeant looks at him. He goes, what are you guys doing, cocaine? I go, what the fuck are you talking about, cocaine? He goes, yeah, what are you doing, cocaine? I says, what do you want to do? Search me now? Well, what's fucking wrong with you? So they start searching us. I said, what are you doing? They're going in my pockets. I said, are you guys really that fucking crazy? And then when they found my ID again, the same shit happened. Oh, we're sorry. And the sergeant goes, yeah, just let him fucking go. He still had an attitude. This little.
They got a quota.
Yeah. But you're quota. Busting a man standing there. I was about, 48. And I'm standing there with my son having a cup of coffee. And you're going to come bust our balls. This is when they're out of control. This is abuse of power.
They are out of control. And listen, when they get I don't know. I happened to be driving, and I was I was with my friend, and he was in the car, and then he was like breaking up some weed, and we're on our way to pick up my man at work, and the cops pulled us over. He pulled him out of the car. He had me out of the car as well, and I was in the front driver's side fender of the car because I was the driver. He was the passenger. And he pulled him out. He searched him. Weed. He had a bag of weed that slipped down his leg.
Right.
So the cop took it and said, I seen you throw it to me. That's what that motherfucker did. He already had it bagged up for the fucking weed under the seat. And he said, I seen you throw it to me, and fucking literally arrested me for that shit. I was
they're addicted to that fear. They're addicted.
Done. That guy was the
How
biggest
about
piece of shit.
yeah?
And you know what? I'm on his neck all day. You think? Listen, social media works against us, but it also works for us as well. And this
And yeah.
motherfucker caught me a case, and I'm on his ass like weight on rice. He doesn't make a move without me fucking like going at him. He doesn't.
Yeah. I mean,
He
there's too
doesn't.
many examples I could bring up. I mean, I'd be the first one
Me too.
to jump out of a car if a cop was fighting in the street with a civilian and back that cop up. I'd be that first guy to do it. But
And not
today,
only
cops,
that, but these motherfuckers, they impounded the fucking vehicle
yeah,
and held it for 5 days for a narcotics investigation. I was 18 years old. The guy in my car was 19 years old. We went to school together. Like, we weren't big drug dealers. Like, none of that shit happened. Like, and this motherfucker just pretended. Sorry for him. He happened to be a local fucking cop and lived in the same city. So sorry for you, Goofy Brown.
I mean, yeah, I mean, like,
Yo.
yeah, I'll give you a story though that happened to me when I was a cop. This is the type of cop I was, so you can see the difference. So I'm actually coming home from a 4th of July detail, in Manhattan, where like the aircraft carriers parked and shit. We used to go on them. It was cool, and we would go to work in uniform. You didn't even go to your command. You went directly to the location because it was, we needed a lot of cops there. So on my way home, I'm in full uniform, and my partner, he's in full uniform, but we went together. We carpooled. So I'm driving him home, and we're driving home. All of a sudden, somebody throws from another car an M80 under my car. I go, holy shit. Boom, right underneath my car. I had a Cadillac, a big Cadillac, right? So we see the kids, and they hang a Yui because they see us chasing them now. So I get around them and I block them in and I get out of the car and I'm in uniform now. So now they're like, holy shit, right? I'm going up to the car. The kid almost runs me over. He comes at me a little bit. And then I like jump on the hood and I'm ready to like almost pull my gun out and shoot him if he's going to keep driving with me on the car, right? So he stops. I go over to him and I go, what the, I start cursing. Like, what the fuck are you doing? What's wrong with you? So they got a bag of fucking like blockbusters in the car. Now I'm looking at these 4 kids. There's 4 of them in the car. And I go, if I arrest these kids, I'm probably going to fuck their life up because this shit's going to go on their record and they're not ever going to. They look like good kids that would just fucking be stupid. Now, most cops today, forget it. They would have had them in jail. And so I tell them, okay, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. You got 2 choices. I'm either going to arrest this whole car, or you're going to take that whole bag of blockbusters that you got and throw it in that sewer right there. So there wasn't even a thought. The kid goes, yeah, all right. He gets out of the car, takes a giant bag, pours the whole thing in the sewer. He got in there. I said, all right, now get the fuck out of here. And that was it. I didn't arrest him because I seen what I was dealing with. I wasn't dealing with criminals. I was dealing with stupid kids.
That's also happened to me as well.
How many cops would do that? If I found a nickel bag of weed in a guy's car, I wouldn't arrest him.
Yep. No, he caught me with a bag of weed and let me pour it down the sewer. He brought my ass to the sewer, made me dump it out. He reamed my goofy ass out for fucking being idiots and stop hanging with these idiots. And he read me the riot act and
he scare you. He put a little fear of God into you and let you go. I'll be honest, if I found a nickel bag of weed in somebody's car, I probably would have made believe I didn't see it because I don't even want to get to that point where, I let him go with drugs, I would make believe I didn't see it and avoid it because it's only a little bag of weed. I'm not going to go crazy. What, I never smoked pot when I was a kid? Come on. And
I always played innocent as well. I was always like, I didn't know.
But cops aren't like this today. They're actually the opposite. So they arrested my son one day, right? Now, what happened was at the time, I think he was staying with his mother. I don't know. And he was on, I think, like psych medicine or some shit. I don't know. They had him on some type of medicine, right? So the cops pulled them over, him and his friends in the car. There was 3 of them. And they go, what are you pulling us over for? They go, oh, well, we smell weed. They go, what do you mean you smell weed? They go, we just drove by you. How could you smell weed? The windows were closed. They go, we smelled it. Now, they had no weed on them. So they got all 3 of them out of the car. like rolled up on the car or sitting on the curb like they're they're criminals, and they go, all right, we're gonna search all of you, so you better give us whatever you got of drugs or whatever. Give it to us now because we're gonna find it. So my son goes, listen, I got a prescription, and it had his name and everything right on the prescription bottle, and he goes, here. He goes, I got a prescription. It's my name. And it was like 2 pills in it, whatever. And it wasn't like Oxycontins or anything. It was like some bullshit. All of a sudden, now they had a paddy wagon with people full. All of a sudden, they come back to the car and they arrest all 3 of them and throw them in this paddy wagon. My son says, yeah, there was like 10 people in there. One guy goes, yeah, they arrested me for talking to a hooker. It was like a crazy thing. So they arrest my son and his 2 friends. So we get in the court, and I didn't even know what happened because I didn't see him yet. But I'm in the courthouse, and they get to the front, and his lawyer's talking to the judge. And he goes, but Your Honor, he gave him a prescription with his name on it and everything. So the judge goes, well, there's no name on here. So these dirty cops rip the label off because, see, cops, the more arrests they get, when they're in a squad, they get promoted. They become a detective, and then you get more money. So this is the goal, to just keep racking up arrests. So they rip the label off to justify the arrest. They arrest all 3 kids. So then this was a smart judge. He goes, I'll tell you what. Call his doctor right now, and if that kid has a prescription, all 3 of you, this is getting dismissed. So they called right there, right on the spot. They called the lady, one of his assistants. She goes, yes, the doctor confirmed that's his prescription.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
Took the gavel and went dismissed. Boom. But here's the problem: those cops weren't accountable. See. I even made a complaint, but nothing happens to them. They're protected because of one reason now: lawsuits. When I was a cop, it was the opposite. We were getting persecuted when we fucked up. I swear, we had an ADA that wanted to put every cop in jail. So we had to make sure we didn't do shit like that.
But now cops are literally doing life bids.
Cops, though, today are doing a lot. Look, they're still good cops.
Life bids, but doing their bidding for all these
they lie like crazy
little people, and that's what they're doing. Listen, when these cops are going into establishments and going against them through the vax shit, that is crazy to me.
Experiment.
Those were illegal constitutional requests. And the cops went and did that bidding blindly.
They don't care anymore. They just follow orders. They're like soldiers.
It's the unions.
Yep.
It's the unions because every beat cop wants to be a training officer, and then every training officer wants to be a sergeant. Every sergeant wants to be a detective. Every detective wants to make lieutenant. Lieutenant wants to make captain. Captain, or
it's all about the money.
Watch commander.
They're following illegal orders. They're following illegal orders.
Yes.
And they're doing the bidding for all these assholes and following illegal orders. I can't co-sign that shit.
I know, but there's not enough of them. The problem is, Sue, there's not enough of the police officers that are resisting. See, if 2 or 3 of them say we're not doing it, they'll just fire them. But if the whole department, first of all, the union's really supposed to do it, like Dunny said. The union's supposed to say,
they do
we're
get
not
fired,
doing this shit.
But you do get fired, but you can actually fucking have monetary compensation.
There's a lot of things you can do.
Because it was an unconstitutional act that they wanted you to fucking progress.
But so it can take years in court to win that battle.
They don't care about the damn Constitution. It's all political. You gotta, what I just tell you, everybody's connected to somebody. It's all back scratching, scratch my back. It's all about the unions, and the unions are in on it with the city council and the aldermans and the mayors and the judges and the lawyers and the district attorney and so on and so forth. So it's like, hey, if you ever get in trouble one day, you know, we're going to make sure that you go before Judge so and so. You know,
There's a
we're going to
big
make sure that you.
I agree with all that, but what is the so what can we do? Nothing.
What's the
You have
solution?
cops going rogue,
Well,
mandating these unconstitutional acts, and then and if they're gonna be fired for doing it, so where's the common ground here?
Well, the solution is we need a lot of people to stand up and resist, and we need a lot of people to sue them, not just a couple of people. You know, when you get arrested unlawfully, like, you know, they're grabbing a kid in a Cheesecake Factory and they're arresting him and bringing him out. It's unconstitutional what they're doing, but he goes to court. He's not going to win, and it's going to take years, and they're going to clog him up with money. But when a lot of people start going and they get class actions and stuff, which could happen in the future, maybe there's a chance. Maybe, because the judges are corrupt too. I mean, like, they've gotten so many people on board.
Shit
You know,
show. It's
like
like
a
there's
you-
no win-win here. It's
No,
a
'cause
shit show.
even the police department union, right? When
Mhm.
my father was a cop, they actually went on strike. There were no cops in the street. Okay, there was only sergeants, not even sergeants, lieutenants and captains. Sergeants, I think, were in the same union as the cops. So they actually went on strike. There were no cops. There was only like a little bit, you know, a few lieutenants and captains.
Yeah, well, that's the purpose. Now people are
Right,
saying
but
defund
now
the police,
they
and let's
invent
get rid of
laws.
police and all
Right.
this goofy ass shit.
But the cops have no leverage now because they invented a law. I forgot the name of the law, something like the Murphy's Law. I forgot the name of it. That they can't go on strike. It's illegal. Like, could you imagine you can't go on strike? So what leverage do you have in a union if you can't go on strike? What leverage do you have? None. Zero.
See, that's New York shit. I swear to
But
God,
that's
New York
not
is the
only
best
New York,
traffic
that's
shit.
Chicago, LA, that's Las
Yeah, I know.
Vegas,
That's why they made the Murphy
Arizona.
Law.
Yeah,
That's
there's
why.
many police departments. You think that how many big cities we have? Seattle. I mean, we got Oklahoma. There's tons of big cities in America. Every state has at least 2 big cities. You go like Missouri, St. Louis, and Kansas City. Boom.
Yeah.
2.
Is years ago when you talked about Pops, I remember all that.
Yeah.
When there was a big ordeal with the rise of the unions, and the 80% of the department would walk out, and and basically the city would be, the criminals are having a party. And
Right.
and it was funny because they did the current situation where you see the cities that you just named, all the big trouble cities that have had
Detroit,
trouble for the
yeah.
past 150 years. They pulled all these cities that said defund the police, and they did it. They actually did it. And then all of a sudden crime surged, and then the current cops did exactly what those cops 30, 40 years ago did. You remember what happened? Yeah. Oh, you defunded us? Sure, we'll come back. Yeah, we'll come back. But guess what? We want more money and we want more power. And that shit was not put in the news.
Right. And you know what else they do? Like, they don't strike that way. They'll strike. They just won't do their job. Like, they'll go to work and go, I'm not arresting anybody. I'm going to make believe I don't see shit. I've seen that happen too, where cops just look the other way with everything. Like, they're just basically avoiding even fighting crime to stick it to them. Oh, you want to do that? Here we go. How about this? The best way to really hit them when you're cops is an activity strike. You don't write tickets. So when I was in a precinct, I was like the rebel. I was like the PBA delegate that wasn't the PBA delegate. I had the whole station house stop writing red light tickets for one day. Nobody wrote a red light ticket. I had every guy on board with me. I was in their face. They better do it. Because they were busting our balls to write tickets. Like to the point that, oh, you got to write 20 tickets a week and all this shit. I was like, this is fucking ridiculous. Let's show them who the fuck is the boss, right? So we didn't write tickets, a whole precinct for one day. Everybody came in, no tickets. Yo, the next day, they had me up in the captain's office. Somebody ratted me out right away. They gave me the worst they thought they gave me. They put me on a foot post, okay, in a park where there was no shelter. And it would be fucking winter, pouring rain, man. There was nowhere to go. But there was one place to go, and I found it. About a half a block down, it was a firehouse. I was like, I looked up and I just said, thank you. I lived in that firehouse for like 6 months. Like, because when the boss came out in the police department, a sergeant drives around and he comes over to you and you hand him like your book and he scratches it. He puts his autograph that he's seen you on patrol. So they know you're doing your job. There's no other way. You know, they didn't have cameras everywhere. No. So when I heard he was out, because we would have a code, like everybody would be like, the Eagle has landed. And that means the sergeant's out scratching. So as soon as I heard that on the radio, I'd be outside walking around like I was doing my job. And he comes, scratch my book. And then I went right back in that fucking firehouse. So for 7 out of the 8 hours, I was sitting in a firehouse playing cards, eating. It was great. I wanted to be a fireman after a while, seeing the way them guys got it. You know, but they do go on a fire. So they earn their paycheck. But I don't want to put that job down because it ain't. It's dangerous, but it's a great job other than going in the fire. Those firemen are tight. They're like brothers. So they tried to spite me, but just to show you what they'll do to you. I mean, they were threatening to put me in the Bronx. That was even worse. It would have took me 2.5 hours to go to work. So, like, yo, they do shit to you. They don't care, you know. They just leverage everyone, you know. And that's the way they are. It's terrible. And today, it's a whole different game. Now, today, it's all about making money. You know, if you write tickets, you'll get the best hours as a police officer. You'll be off on weekends. You'll work Monday through Friday, 9 to 5.
It's the quotas, man.
Yeah, you hit them quotas.
It's the quotas.
That's it. And they say there's no quota. It's bullshit.
Oh no, there's a quota. You know, they might not call it a quota, but there's a quota. You know, that's income for the city. You got to remember that.
Yeah,
that's income. That's nicer cars and bigger salary, and you know, I was a reserve police officer, okay, and they didn't really let us do much because, you know, we were basically, you know, we were put in place to give the, you know, the right. Well, no, we were put in place. We were put in place because, you know, we were basically, you know, Tony's going on vacation, you know, you know, I got to take a weekend off because I got to take the wife and kids to the beach or whatever. So we would go and that was our whole thing was parking in the middle of
like auxiliary cops in New York. So they're young kids usually because they want to be cops, and a lot of them can't because like they're overweight, they couldn't pass the test, but they always wanted. So they make them auxiliary cops. So they walk around with these like star badges that don't look like a regular cop's badge, but the rest of their uniform looks exactly like a cop. So if you've seen them from a distance, you would swear it's cop. But I used to feel bad because they didn't have I said, these guys can't even defend themselves. They're like targets.
They have those here. They do everything a cop does except for they do like all the little dink work, and they carry everything except for the gun. They carry the baton, the taser, the OC. They carry everything, every single thing, except they're the ones that show up to, you know, they're the ones that show up to like a car crash or an abandoned vehicle. They handle like the little nitpicking stuff. But they have those here. But yeah, I mean, we had the right tickets, and you know, it was all once again for the millionth time, my favorite saying, and yours, Pops, you know, what a lot of people don't realize this, you were a cop, you get to see behind the curtain. You get to see stuff that, you know, most people don't get to see. You know, and you tell all these stories and people are like blown away, and you're like, I'm not even telling you half of it. I'm not even telling you 20% of it. You know, I mean,
back in the 80s, could you imagine what they're telling them now to do?
Oh man, it's nuts.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how people don't, you know, bug out now though. I mean,
oh no, I got cameras. I got cameras all over my vehicle. I wear a body cam. Okay, everywhere I go,
Wow, that's
and
great.
well, yeah, I mean, I'm not, just
Right.
because,
I know what you're saying, but you still, it's great that you have all that surveillance. You need it.
and I got a really good lawyer to where I'm the worst person to get pulled over. I'm the worst person to get pulled over because, number one, I know my rights. Number two, I record everything all the time. Number three, I got a great lawyer.
Right.
Oh, we want to search your vehicle. Cool. Hold on for a second. Let me make a phone call. You want to search my vehicle? Cool. Number one, I don't consent to searches, and number two, you better, articulate some sort of reasonable suspicion. Yeah, I mean, once they figure out your rights and the law, they kind of they either go one or two directions with it. They either kind of back away, or they start calling the other ones in and really putting the pressure on you to see how much you can take.
It's true. And I mean, the thing that you need to do, no matter what, though, I mean, the way things are now, a cop pulls you over, you got to turn your phone on and start recording. You have to.
Yeah.
And they'll grab your phone sometimes and break it. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
that's happened. But if you got a cloud, if a lot of phones, you could cloud it, that recording don't go away.
Yeah.
And then you got a lawsuit, But look, I'm not a cop bashing guy. Look, I was a cop. I'm behind them, but the new generation of police officers have to start to wake up a little bit and realize that this is wrong.
Right.
Like,
No, I mean, yeah, I mean, like you said, your experience and my experience are very, very similar. The vast majority, I'd say 85, 90% of the cops that I've always known and currently know are all really good guys. They have families. They love the same things that you and I do. That they love relaxing, beer drinking, chasing girls, and watching sports, whatever. Enjoying the time with their kids and their family and their friends. But it's that little small percentage. It kills it for the rest of them. It just kills it.
And the percentage, though, now is a lot bigger than it used to be. Like, maybe you had 10% of the police department back in my day that they were a little overboard with their, abuse of power attitude. Now it may be 30% of the police department, but they're being trained that way. They're being trained to be heartless. I really believe they're being trained to be this way and being threatened. You could lose your job. There's a lot of things behind it, but I still think a cop today, if he realizes what he's doing, he can at least avoid a lot of it. Like, don't pull people over for bullshit. Just don't even bother or when you pull them over, there's no law that says you can't warn and admonish. The problem is they got body cams on these cops now.
Yeah.
So now when they pull somebody over and they keep letting people go, your boss is going to pull you and say, why are you not writing tickets? Because this is the way they are. So you better off just, a guy went through the red light by a half a second. Don't even pull him over. Stop being a petty ass person. Yeah. When I was a cop, I always felt, okay, I'm going to give this guy a ticket. Now his insurance is going to go up. Now this guy's going to pay an extra $300 a year for 5 years because of this ticket I'm going to give him now. And this guy is working for a living. He's a normal guy. And he was apologetic and everything. Why would I write him a ticket?
Because like I said, it comes from the top down.
Yeah.
You get called into the captain's office.
I did plenty of times.
Right. You get called in the office, and what do they say? Hey, I talked to the chief, and he's getting a lot of heat from, City Councilman Wilson,
right?
Who got a phone call from, his cousin or whoever it is. We're getting a lot of phone calls saying that, that they saw a black and white and somebody ran a red light and the black and white didn't do anything about it. It's like, what are you talking about? There's no proof that this ever happened. You're just telling me this.
Right.
It's just words. So I have no reason to believe what you're saying. Well, you gotta get out there and, citations, man,
That happened to me a lot, the captain, but he wouldn't do that. He would just pull me in the office and say, look, Cavallari, it's not me. They always try to make it like they're the good guy. It's from, like you said, councilman and my chief. It's usually my chief is putting pressure on me. Our precinct isn't writing enough tickets. What's the problem? you know, and he's asking you like, you know, we gave you red light overtime and you didn't write any tickets. They gave me red light overtime. They were paying me like, back in the day, I was making like $40 an hour for that overtime, and I didn't write one ticket. And the reason why, I went to my delegate and I said, look, I can't do this red light overtime once a week. I said, because I got a business on the side. I said, what's the best way for me to get out of this? Because I don't want to do it. I'll give it to somebody. He goes, there's only one way out. My delegate, you know, he was on my side. He goes, don't write any tickets. So I went out there that day and I didn't write one ticket. And my captain the next day had me in the office and he had an Irish browl and he goes, Cavalieri, you know, what's the problem? Why didn't you write tickets? I go, Captain, nobody went through the red light. What am I supposed to do? I says, I put on an act. I says, I was standing there all day. I didn't even go eat lunch. I told him. I said, I was waiting. I'm waiting and waiting. Nobody was going through the red light. I couldn't believe it. And he just looked at me. He knew I was giving him a lock of shit, but he just goes, all right, get the hell out of here. And they never gave me red light overtime again. Never. So you got to sometimes fight back smartly, you know? If they tell you to write, fine. But don't write. And then when they pull you in the office, say, hey, what do you want me to do? Nobody went through the red light. What am I supposed to do? You know, you're gonna get reprimanded, though. They'll give you a shitty post, they'll change your hours. It's gonna happen, but you gotta be willing as a cop to pay a price, a little bullshit. You can't expect to just do what you feel is right and they feel it's wrong and not be reprimanded. They're gonna reprimand you, but you're not gonna lose your job. That's what the point I'm trying to get to. Now with this mandate shit, I don't know. I mean, you get the call, you get in there, and you got to get that. You got to obey this mandate. That's illegal. And if you stand up and say I'm not doing it as a police officer, they're gonna at least suspend you. You know, and take pay away from you. When they call it, they write you up. They give you like complaints. You know, they may take 5 days pay. You know, the first time, then maybe the second time, you know, 10 days pay, and the third time, maybe they fire you. So the cops, really, it's not 100% their fault. The union's letting them down. The union's supposed to stand up for them, you know. But I would do my best as a police officer today to avoid hurting people and try to, you know, stand up for the people. But it's not happening.
I don't know, man.
You know,
what were we talking about before with family? You were talking about something with
So
family?
again, let's get off that subject because I don't like to. Yeah, so we were talking about, you know, like, you know, what happened today. Like, I have a picture, and you know, you're at your dinner table, everybody's on the phone, and what goes on there is they're getting programmed, whether they know or not. You know, everybody's getting programmed somehow, and they're not talking to each other at the dinner table. You know, and family relationships today even worse than that. They're not even sitting at the table with their phones. One person's in the room playing Xbox, eating. The other kid's in the other room on the computer, eating in the room. The wife is eating in the kitchen. The husband's eating, sitting on the couch in the living room. So, like, there's no family unit no more. Like, they just destroying it. Even the people that stay together, they're destroying those family units. Forget about the ones they broke up. So, you know, we were talking about people have to start laying rules down. Like, look, like even eating. When I was a kid, if I wasn't home at like 6 o'clock for dinner, I didn't eat. If I got home 6:30, I wasn't eating. No, you got to be home this time. If I walked in the house 2, 3, 4 minutes, even 5 minutes late, my father most of the time will let it go. But if I got home like 6:30 and was supposed to eat at 6, I went to bed hungry. So guess how many times that happened to me, Gutty?
Yeah.
Once.
Oh yeah.
After the first time, I said, nope, I'll make sure I get home to eat.
Yep.
You know?
Your father would not feed you, and then the worst, you know, this is the worst when you were a kid. You know, I had an Italian mother, you had an Italian mother. They would sit you down and give you that 30-minute speech of how, you know, your father works really hard, you know, to put food on the table. And, you know, it took me, you know, an hour and a half to cook this meal, and, you know, and everybody enjoyed it except for you. And it's so much better when you're sitting here and you know, and having dinner with us. And she gives it a big guilt shame speech. You're like, all right, Ma, you know, all right.
But in general, I actually enjoyed eating dinner with my father and my mother and my brother. I mean, like, we were a family, you know. I liked it, you know. Felt good to be a family. Today, they took that away from us, you know.
Yeah, like
Little,
you
little
said, it's all. There's no more cooking. It's all
fast
carry
food.
out and frozen, frozen meals and pre-prepared stuff, and it doesn't exist anymore.
I know. But even fast food, like when my dad ordered Chinese food, we used to eat Chinese food every Friday.
Yep.
Like a rule of thumb. It was
Yep.
Chinese food night. And my father's best friend would come over every Friday and we would eat Chinese food, all of us, you know. And I tell you what, I made sure I was home that night more than any other night because I love Chinese food, you know. And but I get it, man, with all these fast food meals. Like your kid gets home, boom, pops something in the microwave. You don't got to worry about what time he got home, nothing. Boom, instant food. But I think people have to start changing things, like, you know, saying, hey, we're going to eat together as a family.
Yeah,
You got to start
there's no
making
going
some type
back,
of
man.
rules. I know. It's hard.
There's no going back.
I think parents give their children too much power today.
Well, there's two sayings that come to mind. Okay, there's two sayings that come to mind, and one is from the Grateful Dead, and the other one's an old one. The one from the Grateful Dead is, you can't go back and you can't stand still. If the thunder don't get you, then the lightning will. And the other one is, everything old becomes new again.
Yes.
We won't go back to family values until we're forced to. We won't go back to, I don't think there's any going back. I really don't. I don't think there's any going back.
The only way I could see really going back is if it got so bad where, like, 100,000 people last year died of drug overdoses, right? And if you go back 10 years ago, only 20,000 people died. I think the only way we go back, this is not really a good example, but what I'm saying is, let's say 20 years from now, millions of people are dying from drug. Like, everything is so out of control. Maybe there could be some type of Renaissance era where, like, I don't know, maybe we have no power. The whole grid goes down. And it changes the way we live. Because if the grid goes down, things will change. I don't know for better or for worse, but think about it. No electric. People are going to have to, like, I don't know, start growing their own food. I mean, something like that could happen. It could be. Or maybe there's a war and, places get destroyed. I mean, I don't know, but I think there's no going back if everything just kind of goes, nonchalant, no wars, no catastrophes, nothing, and everything's just going regular. Yeah, you're right. It's not going to go backwards. But people can right now still have the freedom to kind of, like, if you had kids, Gunny, right? I know you already have checklists with your. I think you would make your kids like, hey, you better be home at this time to eat, or you're going to bed hungry.
Yeah.
So parents can lay a few rules down to at least have some type of morals, And when your kid's sitting down eating with you, you start finding out shit, especially he's like 12, 13. You could, like, pick his brain and find out shit he's doing, so you get a better idea of what your kid's up to.
Well, I mean, again, the only people I can really identify with, the people that I see that really get ahead in life, in my experience, in my lifetime, are guys like you and me that, they didn't have the best family in the whole world. They actually had to work and sacrifice. They knew what it was like to get their hands dirty and, to roll up their sleeves. And it's the ones today, it's the kids today, more and more kids today, like we're both saying, the kids today that are handed everything, those kids are screwed.
Yeah.
They're screwed. They oh, well, you see an epidemic of these keyboard warriors that, they live at home. They live at home until they're 30. at 30, and or they
Yeah.
do leave the house in their late 20s, and they go out in the world, and their parents never prepared them for the world, and they screw up hardcore, big time. And what do? They come back home, and they're 30 something, 40 something years old, living at home,
Right.
and their
Sue Ann
parents,
brought this up yesterday.
yeah, living at home.
Yeah, all these weirdo people in their 30s still living at home. That's to me is weird. But I just wanted to touch on that eating dinner with your family. Listen, for me, it's really hard. I come out of work, I rush home, I do dinner, and what I am is basically a glorified waitress.
Right.
So I cook the dinner, I serve them, and we and be honest, like my family eats dinner in front of a TV. Like
But
the
let me ask you
TV
this,
trays,
Sue
their
Ann, you're
shit
not
is
married
out.
though, right?
Yeah,
You're a
yeah.
single mom.
No, I'm married.
Oh, okay, so you have your husband and everything. So
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
family unit.
Yeah, it's
I
a
want to
family
I want to play
unit.
the
And what I
devil.
do, but we're interdependent. I don't. He doesn't 100 100% like support us financially. Like I need my medical benefits and all that.
Hmm.
So that's where my job comes into effect.
Mm.
He's financially able to do that, but the health insurance is one thing in
Hmm.
itself. So my job has dental, medical benefits. So
Right.
yeah, so that's how it works. But he's a GC, he's self-employed GC, and so he doesn't have that.
Mm.
And so if not for my job, he wouldn't have medical benefits, nor would our daughter have medical benefits or dental for that matter.
I got you.
And so but when I come out of work, I go in, I'm straight in the kitchen and I'm cooking. I usually prep. I do all my prep on Sundays. So I already prep all our meals, so it's no skin off my ass. But what I find myself doing is being a glorified waitress. I I'm cooking the food, so I'm tasting
Oh,
and eating the food, so I kind of get filled by that aspect of it. But then all I'm doing is serving them. I'm serving
I
them.
want to play the devil with you.
go
Go ahead.
ahead.
How old are your children?
Oh, I have one child that's 8 years old.
Oh,
She just
okay.
has one kid.
Yeah, you
I have
said
one
them. I
child.
thought it was multiple children. Okay,
Well, she
No,
meant the
God,
husband.
oh Jesus, I would lose my shit. I have one.
Well, let me ask you this, Sue. There are circumstances, you may be going to work while he's coming home from, but like, are you ever off on the weekend? Let's say both of you.
Yeah, no, our whole family is off on the
All right.
weekend.
So do you eat
Uh,
together then?
yeah, absolutely.
So there
Yeah,
you go.
that's
If
when we
you
rock
could,
out together.
I'm talking about people that can do it and don't do it. Forget about people that can't. There's always a
No, that's when we rock
circumstance.
out together. Listen,
Right.
every night, my daughter gets like bedtime tucked in. We read her stories.
Hmm.
So I do most of the nights. He has he has like 3 nights that he does it. He's so theatrical, and she
Hmm.
loves him to do it. So we do all that goofy shit.
Yeah, but
Yes.
that's what it's about, though. It's
But
about the things that we.
what we don't do is literally sit down and eat dinner together. Like I find like during the week, like that's not what we do. Like
Okay.
I rush home, and as soon as I go in, I'm like boom, I'm cooking dinner. Yeah, even though I prep for dinner on Sundays, um, for the week, I still come home and I'm like boom, and then she's doing homework and she wants to rock out as well, and so it's like all these different little aspects. And when they eat, like all I want is for them to be cool. Listen, when I come home from work and I'm rushing to put dinner out, is because I want them fed and happy,
Right.
honestly. And so as soon as I do that, and I feel, and I do feel like a glorified fucking waitress, but I do that. I do their little goofy ass drinks. So they want chocolate milk. If someone wants strawberry milk, I do all that stupid goofy shit, and I make sure they're all set. And you know what? I sit down. I would like just to wait to see if they like the food.
I
And
know
as
you
soon
told me
as
that.
Yeah, and as soon as they say they like it, you know what? I go downstairs in my basement and I go smoke my cigarette and I smoke my little weed and I check my YouTube and do all that. Like it's just like that little like stupid shit. You know what I mean? But it's when that's at the point when they're settled. When I come home, they're settled. That's when I get to be like,
Well,
oh
it sounds like you have a busy life, so it's kind of hard to do what I was talking about. But I wasn't saying that we should do it 7 days a week if we can't. But whenever you do have a chance,
yeah. But I
um,
kind of feel bad that you said that because I'm like,
well, don't
'cause
feel
my
bad
daughter
because a lot
always
of people do what you do too. But you're
I know
you shouldn't allow your kid though to have a cell phone at the. Let's put it this way: your
no.
child is eating dinner with like your husband. I would imagine she's not eating
Yeah,
by herself, right?
basically Monday to Friday, she's literally sitting down eating dinner with her father, and they're watching their little show. And as soon as they settle down to eat dinner, that's
Yeah,
when I get my little alone time. And I
right.
run
So,
downstairs to the basement and like do my little shit.
but
So
so they're watching TV while they're eating together.
yes.
But where I think, me personally, now I know she's 8, so it's a little harder because she's too little still. So, but like when she gets to like 12 years old, I don't think they should be watching TV. They should be talking to each other. He should be like, "Hey, how was your day?"
That was
Oh,
that was
they
my next
like
question. So she's 8. Are
Yeah.
you like are you like coaching and training her to help with the laundry and the dishes and the cooking and
yes,
the cleaning?
yeah, and that's exactly. See, listen, when I run home from work, boom, I do dinner. They get to sit down, do dinner, and whatever. But afterwards, it's homework. She has to do. She has to do her own laundry. Like I'm not raising a little shit bag. I'm not.
Make her
And
independent a little.
yeah, and her father's not having
Even
any of
if they
that
don't do
either.
it right, like my daughter-in-law makes her kids make their bed, like before they go into bed or in the morning, and they give her a hard time. Not my granddaughter, but my grandson. He's only 4, but he makes his bed, and she makes him make his bed because she just feels like they got to do stuff. They can't just sit here and think everything is handed to them. And
Yeah,
if
no,
she'll help
no,
him sometimes if he don't make it right, or his sister will help him. But
My
yeah.
mom screwed
See,
me up by not doing that, bro.
yeah,
Like my mom would
yeah,
just not want to deal with it, and so she would just do everything. And then like as I started to grow up, it was like hard for me to like ever figure out like how to live like not sloppy because I just expected shit would be clean though. You know what I mean? Like I was like a fucking king.
yeah. See, yeah. See, I'm that kind of person as well, and so I actually had to back off from that shit, and I had to check myself because I was that person. You know who decided against that was my daughter. She wanted to do her own shit. She wanted to help. She wanted to clean. She wanted like she and it took for her because I was always like laundry day. I'm doing laundry. I'm doing this and this and that. I was doing shit in the middle of the night. I was disinfecting shit, cleaning everything, doing everything for them in the middle of the night. And then they woke up like there was a little genie out there
mhm.
doing the shit while they slept. It was me.
See
So
me, I had to put up with the shit end of the stick with my son, like he said. So his mother used to do all his shit for him, pick up his laundry. So then when he came to live with me when he was like 11, I wasn't picking up his shit. So he would just let it build up in his room. He was like Oscar Madison in The Odd Couple. You ever seen that?
yeah,
So I be him, I'd be like yelling, hitting him, punishing him, brawling with him, like clean your fucking room. I could have did it, but I'm not doing it. Like it's your job. And I used to end up doing some of it anyway because he never seemed to want to do it. But one thing me and him always did, we always ate together. It may not have been at the same time, but we used to go out to eat a lot because I had money and I didn't need to be cooking, but I used to cook meals too. I'm a good cook, but not every night. So I used to take him out and we used to eat every night, and we bullshit. There was no he was on a cell phone doing
From
this.
age like 12, my pops had it pretty like rough. Like he had to be my mom and my dad.
mm,
You know what I'm saying?
like see with my daughter, my man had like actually checked me, and he was like, "No, you're doing your own laundry." And like he like brought her ass down in the basement and was like, boom, put this clothes in, and this is what you like. He did that because if
Mm.
not, I would have been still been doing her laundry and doing all that shit. honestly.
See, I've always did everything for myself. Even my dad.
What's up,
my,
Iger?
my parents were separated like twice. Actually, they got married again. Like they got remarried and they got divorced. But there was
Pops,
a
you got
point
spam in your chat. You got to delete that real quick.
where
It's like a link. It's above Iger.
Yeah.
oh, okay, that
If
guy.
you leave them links in there, bro, it like gets your channel like
So I'm gonna
fucking
block
points.
user. And how do I get rid of him? Did I get
You
rid
just
of him?
you just
block him, hide him,
delete
hide
it.
him.
I think I just
Yeah.
got rid of him, right?
Yeah, he's gone.
Yeah, I blocked him. But I didn't know about that. So where was I with? I don't even know where I was in the conversation now.
She was
Yeah,
talking about how like it had like her husband made her daughter start doing stuff, and then you started going on how you used to do your own stuff.
yeah, exactly. Like,
Oh
he
yeah.
forced
So when
me
I
to
was a
do-
little kid, I mean, I used to 11 years old. My dad was at work, and my mom and I used to have to cook for myself at 11. I was making meals for myself.
Was your mom working though?
No, my parents were separated for a while, and I went to live with my dad. Okay. So now I'm living with my dad. He wasn't home. He's at work. He's a cop, right? So he's at work. So I'm over there washing my own clothes. At 11, I'm doing this shit. We were a little more mature too at that time. Like an 11-year-old today wasn't as
You know
mature as an
what?
11-year-old in my day. And
You
I
know
used to
what I
do
wanna
everything
notice?
for myself.
Is that is like my daughter. Listen, I think she like almost like internally begs for these responsibilities, and I'm the one that hinders her. I'm the one that goes in and do her laundry. I'm the one that goes in and make sure her room is clean, and she has all that shit. I'm the one that hinders her, and she's basically like almost screaming out to me like, let me do my own shit, basically.
But she's only
And
really 8. Does she do it correct? That's the thing. Does she wash her
yeah,
clothes without ruining them?
well, no, it's really laundry. It's like she puts them in the laundry. She puts the
Okay.
right amount of detergent into them,
Okay,
and
so
she
you
does her
taught her.
shit. And yeah, well, yeah, no, actually her father did. I was always doing that.
But cooking's
I
dangerous.
always took the reign. Like when they're sleeping and shit like that, that's when I come in and I start disinfecting shit and start doing people's laundries and washing drawers and doing all this goofy shit. And meanwhile, like she wants the responsibility, and I was hindering her.
Well, I would tell you the one thing I don't think you should let your kid do, and I'll tell you why. Don't let kids cook, because I almost burnt my house down once.
She doesn't.
My dad, I
no.
put, those potato tartars?
Yeah,
I put those in the oven, and I fell asleep on the couch. My father came home. The whole entire house was black smoke. He gave me such a beating that I got a beating and a half. It wasn't even a beating. It was a beating and a half. I didn't even go near cooking anymore, like in the oven. Like if I was like a little, I was careful then.
She she doesn't cook on her own, but what I do is when I'm cooking, and I cook almost every night. Basically on Sundays when I prep, she's prepping with me. She's chopping up. Like I let her use a knife. She chops up vegetables with me. She does all prepping with me. And I prep for the week's meal and stuff like that, and that includes her lunch. And I found that when I incorporated her into it, her palate was more like she was
liked
willing to
different
try more
foods.
things. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because when you're cutting the stuff and you're cooking it, you ever cook your own food? It's almost all the time it's gonna at least taste decent to you, even if it doesn't, because you cooked it, you made it, you feel better.
To you, whether other
Right.
people like it or not. Yeah, at least to
So
you.
that's what she was going through. Yeah.
Yeah.
But how
and
many
I'm
people do what you do, Sue? This is the difference. See, not everybody does what you're doing. People baby their children today. They spoil the shit out of them. They give them the phone or the iPad and go do what you want. I'll be your slave and I'll do everything for you.
And again, they're reaping the downfall of the whole thing. I can't go get a job. I can't leave the house. They don't leave until they're freaking 30. And if they do, they go out there and they screw up their life and they end up coming back.
My daughter doesn't like vegetables, But guess what? If she grows them, she likes them. She doesn't eat vegetables. She doesn't eat peas worth of shit. I can't feed her peas to save my life. But guess what? If she grows peas, she will eat them. If she grows a tomato plant, she will eat that tomato. It's the weirdest shit in the world.
I think the biggest mistake, though, people make with their children, this is just my own personal preference, is they try to make their kid their buddy. Like, we're buddies, we're best friends, we elbow each other,
Oh,
right?
hell no.
And here's what happens. You don't respect your friends like you would respect your parents. I mean, your friend says something to you, you tell him go fuck himself, But
Mm.
so a kid grows up thinking his father is his friend. I used to tell my son all the time, I'm
Yep.
not your fucking friend. I'm your father. Understand that. I got
Exactly.
your back, but I'm
my
your
daughter's
father.
8 years old and tried that goofy shit with
Yeah,
me.
these people are like,
Nah.
oh, we're buddies, we're friends. They treat their child like they're equals, like we're friends. No, it don't work like that. Even my daughter-in-law now and my son, my little granddaughter's 7 years old, and she's always trying to be part of the conversation. And
Yep,
they
my
told her,
daughter as well.
go in your room. We don't care about your opinion. Your opinion doesn't matter here. Adults are talking.
Yeah, you got to check their asses because they think
people-
they're fucking grown.
Not everybody. I'm sure a lot of people on this show are like us, but there's a lot of people out there that are trying to be their kid's friend. I don't want to be your friend. I'm your father. That's what I want to be.
Exactly.
And they got to get that out of their head, because society is teaching these kids, like your parents, you can call the cops and your parents like you're equal. Like,
Well,
you
it's
have
like I
rights.
said, it's that disconnect and that delusion. It's that I don't want to
Exactly.
hurt them. I don't want to hurt their feelings. It might scar them for life. Well, you don't realize is that you are scarring them for life. And when they don't move out, or they end up moving back, it's because you did it.
I agree.
It's because you did it.
I totally agree.
I
And,
seen the writing
yeah.
on the wall, though. The minute I seen in Little League, they give every kid a trophy, even if you were the last place team. Like, everybody is getting a trophy.
Listen,
So even if you lose, you get a trophy. What kind of shit is that?
in my world, the only trophy you're getting is from my grandparents. Let grandma and grandpa spoil the goofy shit out of you, and that's the only people that get a pass. When she goes to my parents' house, forget it. She
I
gets
used to teach my
spoiled,
kid to-
whatever, and that's where she should get spoiled. But it's not happening in my house.
There's a couple of pictures and video. I gotta see if I can find it. I wish I could find it right now so you could put it up, so Mike could put it up on the screen.
Yeah, see if you
But
find it. I'll put it up.
Is it the kid with the chocolate bar, the huge chocolate bar?
No. It's you know what I'm talking about. It's pictures and video of a child saying, "Mom, Dad, you never get me anything," and the mom puts like a note and a bow on the light switch, and it says "Merry Christmas." They put a
be grateful for life.
right? They put a note and a bow, and like confetti on the water spigot, saying happy birthday.
That is
shit like that.
fantastic. Yeah, I'm telling you, like my daughter is like, you go to my parents' house, and that's where you're gonna get your goofy ass spoiledness and whatever you're doing, and they spoil the shit out of her, and she gets to go to that place and get spoiled. And I'm glad for my parents didn't spoil me; they fucking tortured me. But I'm glad that they're able to like spoil my daughter. You know what I mean?
I used to coach kids in Little League, right? So for 10 years, I coached the Little League. I didn't even have a kid on the team. But the Little League I was involved with was a serious baseball town. Like, this Little League has been to the Little League World Series like twice. So I used to coach, and I coached there 10 years. I won like 5 championships. It was like amazing. Nobody's ever done shit like that. In this league, if you won 1 championship in 10 years, you were a great coach. So I won a lot. And the main thing I was a real tough coach. And parents didn't like it sometimes. And I used to tell parents, don't even come to my practices. And I used to almost have to teach their kids, how to respect people. I didn't even have to. Baseball wasn't even the biggest priority. It was teaching them how to motivate themselves. My thing was like, well, if winning didn't count, why do they keep score? Because to me, winning is important. If you don't strive to win, you're always going to be a loser. So you have to strive to win. Even if you lose, get back up and strive to win. I mean, really, a winner is not, they always say it's when you get up after you get knocked down, how much, motivation you got to go fight again,
That
But-
shit is so hilarious because I played in sports all my life, and my one saying there's no I in
Yeah.
team. I was like, but this I in win.
I made Little League Baseball into a contact sport. I mean, I had my team, no lie. The other teams
I
used to
love
see us, they couldn't deal with it. I had my team motivated, like jumping up and down, couldn't wait to get on the field because I motivated them and I taught them how to motivate themselves. Like I made eventually I didn't have to motivate them. I used to walk away and they would motivate themselves.
Well,
And that's why I
morale is
won.
everything when you play.
Yeah,
Morale.
you gotta,
As soon as you start losing, and your teammates are feeling that loser vibe, you have to
Right.
build up morale.
you have to believe you
build up
can win.
morale.
Even
Yeah,
if you
exactly.
can't,
If
you gotta
not,
believe it.
If not, then you already fucking lost. So
But that's a life lesson. Like a
Mhm.
lot of those kids, like the kids I coached, almost every single one of them, because I used to follow them, like in high school, like because they were only 12 when I had them. But when they got into high school, almost every kid I coached made their high school baseball team. And some of the high schools that they went to were the hardest schools to make the team. And like I had one time, I had like 5-6 kids on the starting roster of the best high school in New York City. And people were like, and they used to say, "Oh, who did you play for?" They knew it. They said, "Coach Mike." They go, "Yeah." They go, "Why we figured that." Because I was like the farm league for these guys. And at one point, they were offering me a job to come up, and start coaching the high school. But I never did because I enjoyed the kids because they're innocent. I didn't want to deal with the disrespect talking back to me. A 11, 12-year-old don't usually talk back to their coach. Maybe now, but
catch a fucking case with these big mouth little
But
bastards.
it's the parents. It's not the kids. The parents are the cancer. Like, I had an all-star team, right? Almost every year, I had the all-stars. So I would tell the parents in the meeting, because we would make them try out. Like, we would take 20 kids and only keep 12 for the all-stars. So I used to tell every parent, look them right in the eye and say, look, if your kid makes this team, there's a chance he may only play one inning and get one at bat because I play to win. So the best 9 kids are going on that field, and the other 3 kids have to play one inning and one at bat. And I said, how do you feel about that? If your kid makes this team, he's an all-star. He's one of the best in the league, but he may only play one inning and get one at bat because there has to be 3 kids that do that. And they would go, no problem, no problem. Every parent, no problem. Soon as it started, the kids that were playing one inning, one bat, the parents, all 3 of those parents were together and going, yeah, he's no good. He's a fucking shitty coach. They're cancers. And I would win. So they basically couldn't say that much about me because I kept winning all the time. Now, once in a while, I lost. And if I lost, oh my God, I'm the worst coach in the league. So
I always made it to
it's
the
the
all-star
parents. Parents live through their children too much. That's the problem.
No, that's it.
Stop
You
living
nailed it.
through your kid. He's
Yeah,
gonna be who he's gonna be, and try to do the best you can to make him. I actually made my son too tough. That was my biggest mistake. I made him a beast. Like I had him in karate schools, everything. If my kid came home and told me he had a fight with a kid, but he didn't fight him, he walked away from it because the kid was bigger than him, I'm not lying, ask him. I would drive him to that kid's house and say, go ring his fucking bell and you fight him right in front.
But yo,
Oh
that
my
literally
God.
never happened.
Oh my God, Pop.
One time I had like a whole group of kids try to beat me up. Like, you know what I mean? They tried to jump me, like 10 people. And so he made me fight all of them.
I made him fight each kid
It wasn't
a
one
different
kid,
day.
all right?
Pop,
Let's
I
get
swear
it.
to
Let's keep it
God,
100.
And then I told some of the real older kids, because they were too big, he couldn't fight them. I says, when my son's 18, 17, and you're like 23, he's coming back here to fuck you up. And he did. I hold vendettas. Like
I
don't-
actually did.
I don't let
Oh my
shit
God.
go.
You know,
I was
my,
telling their parents I was gonna beat them up too. I went.
Pops, I told you my man's a lot older than me. He has children from a previous marriage,
Yeah.
and his son's friend went to their house and he stole a necklace from them. He fucking drove his ass to his house and did what you did. He was like, you better step up for this shit. And he went and he got that necklace back.
No, but the best
Whether
was
he
like
wanted to or
my.
not,
Yeah.
he got that necklace back. He was like, don't come out of that house until you have the necklace that he stole from you
Yeah.
back. And that just shows, and as a fathering your child, like your son, I think that's very, very, very important. And the way he fathers my daughter, I just absolutely love. She's not gonna take any shit. She's not.
And
She's
This
then
is
there
not.
were.
proof.
I
This
had
is
a.
proof what I've
Yeah.
been telling people. Women crave fucking masculinity. That's all there is to it.
I had incidences where my son would like. We're talking like seniors in high school, 17 years old, are beating up an 11-year-old going home because he beat up their brother because they started a fight with him and their brother was like his age. So now they go beat up my son. I go, same way. This was a Russian neighborhood too, and we're like the only Italians left. Most of the Italians moved out. So I go to these people, I'm ringing their bell, and their father answers the door, and I said, listen, if your son touches my son one more time, I'm going to come here and beat the shit out of you. And the son was there, and I said, and that's when I told this like one guy, you pimple-faced bully, 17 years old, beating up an 11. When my son's 18, you're going to get your ass kicked. And my son never forgot. There were like 3 of them. He got all 3 of them when he got older. And he didn't like really go out looking for it, but he bumped into them, and he goes, oh, you remember me? Boom, one at a time. So I am that type of guy. I don't give a shit. Like,
I put
but
those
that was
motherfuckers
my
in
problem.
ICU, bro.
What I'm trying to say is I made my son too tough. So then it escalated, man. He was in high school. It was like I thought I was like losing my mind. He was getting into a fight almost every day. And I was going, but why are you fighting? He goes, Dad, people, they're coming up to me. They're like challenging me. Like, who could beat me? It was fucking nuts. And he was in a big high school, like 4,000 kids. So it was a constant.
It wasn't even
I was
high school
losing
when
my
it
mind.
started. It was in junior high school from 6th grade. I
Yeah.
fought just about every day till I got to high school. By high school, nobody even wanted to fight me in a one-on-one no more. They were just trying to jump me.
Yeah, but it was
And then-
crazy.
And then I had to take it to the next
So
level.
you got to regulate yourself, what I'm trying to say, because I was a little too much. I was too overboard with it. He didn't even want to go to karate. I used to force him. You're going. I don't care. You got to learn how to fight.
And
I
see,
didn't give a shit.
I still have that same opinion because her father's like is like he bought her a switchblade. I'm like, what the fuck are you
That's
doing?
a little. I never bought him weapons.
What are you doing? Like, no, stop it.
In all fairness, you didn't have to. I kind of had my own.
I know, but I
Like-
never.
like,
We didn't fight with
but
weapons
it's
back
so
then.
weird. If
Put me in a
like,
school that taught me
like-
how to use weapons.
I swear,
That's true in martial arts.
He's a lot older than me. I think, in his oldest age, and the more he's getting older, he's like feels like he has to like defenders from his grave. So he gifted me freaking switchblades and security 9s and ARs and all sorts of shit. I'm like like
Yeah.
he's just like trying to prep us to take care of ourselves in case.
Well, that's a good man, all right?
But the one thing
Yeah.
I gotta say
Yeah.
about my son, he wasn't a bully. Like he would protect the weak. He had friends in school that were getting picked on, and he would
I was
step
like that
in,
as
and
well.
he never started a fight. He usually just finished it, and that's the way I wanted it. I didn't want him to be a tough guy. I want him to be able to defend himself.
defend himself. That's it. And I was like that as well when I was in school. I was like there was this bully broad, and I was like, oh, I just couldn't stand her. And it came to like I was defending everybody that she was having beef with, and not because I had any issue with her. It's because she was picking on people that she knew she can beat.
But there are
That
some
was my
crazy
issue with
parents
her.
out there. Like I remember my mother was crazy. I remember I was a little kid, right? And I had a fight with this kid. He was my age. He was like my next door neighbor. We fought. So he was like 10 and I was 10. We fought. I beat him up a little bit. And his sister was like 12 or 13. She came out and hit me over the head with like, do you ever remember those wooden guns that you pumped up and it shot like air?
Yeah.
She cracked me over the head with the bat, like the stock and the thing, and it cracked my head. I was bleeding. So I went home bloody, right? Ma, I needed stitches. So my mother said, who did it? Blah, blah, blah. And Maria did it. This girl, Maria. My mother went and rung the bell at a lady's house. I swear to
Maria
you.
was Puerto Rican.
No, they were Italian, actually. So my mother rung the lady's bell, and the lady started arguing with my mother. I swear to you, my mother went inside her house and beat the lady up in her house. This is how crazy my mother was. And my father was a cop, and in those days, if they called the cops, they came. Usually the cops squashed it. They didn't give a shit. Cops stuck together back in like the 70s. And my mother beat the shit out of this lady in her own house. And then they went to court. You know, the lady took my mother. My mother said, I didn't go in the house. She pulled me in. She was beating me up. But it was crazy.
That's
That's the
hilarious.
type of family I come from. You know, my
Fucking
mother was like
hilarious.
my mother was super tough. Forget about
Yeah,
my
good for
father.
her,
Woo.
man.
Like my daughter-in-law, I pity anybody that messes with my grandchildren. My daughter-in-law tunes them up. Forget about my son. I went, holy shit. The mother and they're both violent.
How many children do you have, Pops?
I got one son, but I got 3 grandkids.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
You know, so
Yeah,
God didn't give me more than
I
one
like
kid.
Mrs. a lot, actually.
Because my
I
son
like
was
her.
enough. What God knew, the Almighty knew that he was enough to handle. If he would have gave me another kid, I would have had a nervous breakdown. My son
No,
was a
Mike
very
is
wild
very,
child.
very, very intelligent. I like him. a
Yeah,
lot,
but when
actually.
in his
Okay.
youth he was intelligent, but he was a wild child.
Let me tell you guys a story. All right. So I was cutting school a lot. All right. And one day, me and all my boys, we went out the back door to high school. And so we're about 1.5 miles in the middle of the woods on a pickup truck smoking a doink. All right. And, in these woods, they had hiking trails, and hikers would like run around and shit in the woods. And it wasn't really a big deal. We always seen like older people running through the woods. Now, me and all my friends were sitting there, and they see somebody running, and I was pretty high. I wasn't paying attention, but they're like, that guy's moving really fast, right? And so we look, right, and we see it's my dad, and he's about, now he's about 1.5 miles in the woods. He found me somehow, fucking hunted me down like a bounty hunter, bro, and he's just coming full speed at us. So we all fucking scatter and shit because my friends were scared of him too. They knew what he was about. And my pops would beat up my friends too just for being there with me. And keeping me out of school smoking joints. So everyone's running, but he's fucking tailing me, bro. And he's fucking boogieing. And I played football back in the day, and I was pretty fast, but not as fast as him. He was always faster than me. So I knew I was not going to outrun him unless I did some crazy shit. So I took a cut, in the woods, and I went up a hill and then down a hill, and I knew he was going to find me at some point. So I made a fucking decoy, because he was calling my phone, trying to hear it where I was at. And I put my phone in my jacket and hung it up on a tree. And fucking the only way I got out of this was I had to hide under a pile of leaves like Vietnam style. And here he comes, bro. He hears the phone. He just fucking takes this tree out, bro. He spears the fuck out of the tree. And he's like, oh, what the fuck? And he's all shambled. And I took off and hopped over a brick wall and disappeared. You know what I'm saying? But this was the kind of parenting. He wasn't playing.
How about when you it was a Saturday and I thought you didn't go to school?
Oh, that was great. So it was Saturday morning, and I had been cutting a lot of school lately, right?
It was always
So
late.
it's like Saturday, right? I'm sleeping in my bed. All of a sudden, I start getting my ass beat with a Swiffer mop. You know what I mean? This dude just going to town on my ass with a Swiffer mop, right? And he's like, you should be in fucking school. And I'm like, yo, it's Saturday, bro. It's Saturday. And he's like, it is Saturday. And he just walked out.
Pops took his L and walked out.
That's fucked up.
Yeah, I know.
That's hilarious and shit. My father was a substance abuse counselor, and I was a major pothead. I grew pot, you name it. And my father was a substance abuse counselor. I swear to God, I had my friends would come over and be tripping on shrooms, and here's my father. He'll come up and start talking to them, and they said they're tripping on shrooms, and my father's talking to them about being fucking not taking drugs. I was dead.
I was at a
They're
keg party and I'm all drunk and
waiting
I
for
was
me
like
to get
16
ready and
years old,
shit.
right? And I'm just like walking down the block with my friends to go get a blunt at the deli. And all of a sudden, bro, here comes my pops' car. My friends, they see the car and they fucking scatter, right? Pops hops out like it's a drive-by and just beats the shit out of me, right? And he's like, "Why are you fucking drunk? It's 12 o'clock at night." And I'm like, "Oh, I was gonna get some pussy." And he goes, "All right, go back to the party, but when you get home, I'm gonna fuck you up." And, and my friends are like, "Yo, what just happened?" They're like, "Your pops came, beat your ass, and left." He's like, "Yo, he didn't want to fuck up my game that I had going on." So he let me go back to the party. But then when I got home, you know what I'm saying, I had a face.
I'm dead. Well, and you can't. And when it comes to fathers parenting their boys, is so different. It's
Yeah, if
so
I had a
different.
girl, I'm like a marshmallow with my granddaughter. But when it comes to
Oh,
my grandsons, they're little still, but I would have no mercy when they get older.
yeah, my man's a straight simp when it comes to my daughter. He's he's just mush as mush as can be. I'm
You know, but
telling you.
your kids have to feel like, even though I did hit my son, and a lot of the times he thinks I really hit him more than I really did because he was just so scared of me, that you have to have that fear. Like, you have to love your father, but you got to fear your father. And if you don't have no fear of your
Yeah.
father, you're going to do what you want to do. And
Okay,
he was super wild. If I didn't do what I did with him, he'd be either dead or in jail. There was
agreed.
no in
I
between.
literally have never put my hands on my daughter, but she's a baby, so that
Yeah.
makes sense. Like you
Oh,
should have
little kid, you
like
should.
you're 8 years old. What the fuck is she doing that's so bad that warrants a fucking ass beating? Nothing. So
Well,
nobody's
that
putting
maybe
hands
your
on my
daughter,
daughter.
but you meet my granddaughter, you'll know.
Yeah, I know. I don't put hands on my daughter, and neither does her father.
Well,
And
grandchildren once in a while get a smack in the ass, but that's as far as it goes. You know, they're little, so
JB Jeweler, I think if you have a baby, you're gonna be a good dude, man. You're gonna be a great father.
I
Yeah.
go by what the Bible says. The Bible says, "Don't spare the rod." Do you know that even the Bible? My son brought this to my attention. I mean, nobody's going to do it, but it says if your kids don't listen to you, you should kill them. Like, actually take them out. Like, if they're disobedient and they
That's
don't listen.
no, you can't spare the rod, but you can't overuse the rod.
I
You know what I
understand,
mean?
but the Bible does. The Bible's pretty hardcore. Like, if you're a
It is.
biblical person, your kids don't look. Your kids, if they're smart enough, they're not going to get hit a lot because they're going to understand that if I don't listen, I'm going to get hit. Because
Yeah.
I didn't get hit a lot. My father gave me a few beatings, but in general, he just had it was just the threat of him hitting me made me walk
Yeah,
a straight line.
yeah,
Yeah.
but kids are naturally docile. I've never put my hands, or her father has put my hands on our daughter. She's 8 years old.
Does she listen to
Never.
you?
Never. Yeah, no,
Right.
that
But
comes
what
with
if your daughter
parenting.
doesn't listen to you? Doesn't. She won't listen to you. What do you do?
I I haven't crossed that path
But when
yet,
you cross
but
that path,
I'll take it to her ass. I
right.
would.
Right. So that's what you have to discipline your child. You don't ever abuse your child. I'm sure even my son, when I hit him, it wasn't
Yeah.
to abuse him. It was because you love your child and you want to discipline your child to
Yeah,
walk the right
yeah,
path.
exactly. Like, listen, you don't go overboard with your kids. You don't fucking
But you can't sugarcoat
dehumanize.
everything either, though.
Yeah, but you can't dehumanize them in
Right.
order to discipline them. You
Listen,
should
my
do it.
father beat my ass with a belt a few times.
Yeah, my father as well.
That would be
And
considered
I
child
got the
abuse today.
and I got the fucking belt buckle and I got all that. But I don't think him a good father because of that. Actually, I kind of like when he came at my ass with the fucking belt buckle, I thought he
Mhm.
was a piece of shit, honestly.
Well,
And
that's abuse with a belt buckle. I mean, but
yeah,
do you
yeah,
know
he fucked me
why?
up with a belt buckle.
Do you know why though? The law basically is almost to the point where you're not allowed to hit your kid. Do you know why? It's because God said you could do it, and the devil said you can't. See, it's always the opposite of what the Almighty wants. Okay, He says don't spare the rod, and that guy, well, he don't even live down there anyway. The devil, he probably lives up wherever, but he's saying, oh no, you can't touch him, no matter what he does. That's the difference. Okay,
You know what? Me
discipline
though,
is necessary with children.
yeah, to me, I believe that physical discipline is necessary with children. The odd thing is that I don't personally I feel bad. I can't put my hands I can't put my hands on her. Like if she disrespects me and other people will put their hands on them, but when I see her, she's a little kid, man. Like, what kind of piece of shit am I to put my hands on her? That's how I feel. Like,
Sometimes you gotta do things that you don't like because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, no.
Either cry now or cry later.
No. See, to me, I think you're being a bully, and I think you're being an asshole.
It depends what the child did, though.
Yeah, I think you. I think
you can't hit your child for every little thing. That's not
exactly. And and I think you can be able to express your lesson as a parent without putting your hands on fucking little kids.
Oh, well, we're not talking about little kids, though. I'm talking about like a 15-year-old boy that you have already had a lot of discussions with, and still insists that he's going to do.
Like as a man, and you're dealing with a 15-year-old boy. Now you're dealing with a 12-year-old territory.
Right.
Now you're dealing with alpha territory, and you have to be the alpha in your house and rule as that.
My mother used to beat my ass with a wooden.
You can't let the little motherfucker fucking out
Yo, when they're 1 year old and they start rebelling, bro, they start getting slapped in the ass, bro. We start them out at fucking.
No, about 2 years old. But
maybe
my
2
mother,
years old.
my mother used to hit me with a wooden spoon. You know, the old Italian ladies love the wooden spoon.
Here's the thing: when you say you're beating your kid's ass, you know what I'm saying? When we say this, you know what I mean? A 2-year-old, right? They're getting like a tiny little 2-finger slapping on the ass. You know what I'm saying?
It doesn't matter. There's no reason.
It's not the infliction of pain. It's the fear of the pain.
I understand what you're saying.
The crack of the whip.
I understand what you're saying, but there is better ways. And you don't need to do that.
At the end of the day, you raise your kids how you want, and I'm gonna raise mine how I want. You know what I mean?
That's it. I mean, it's simple. I don't believe in.
I ain't gonna tell you to hit your kids. I ain't gonna tell you know what I mean. I ain't gonna stop hitting mine because they're rebellious.
I'll be honest. I don't think I ever hit my son when he was like 2, 2.5, 3. I think the first time he even got a smack in the ass from me was maybe when he was about 5.
Well, yo, did you ever have a 2-year-old tell you no?
No, my grandson. I have a grandson, 2 years old. I
got a 2-year-old tell me no.
He doesn't give a fuck.
The inclination.
He won't even go to bed. No, I'm not going.
Because they told me no.
It's not even bed, yo. He won't stop going near the heater, bro. We got a wood stove. He wants to go near it. You tell him get out of there. He says no.
Listen. Let him get burned. He's gonna learn a lesson.
No. I would rather slap his ass 20 times than him have to get burned.
You get burned.
Really? Let him get burned.
How about if he burns his face
off? If he falls into it, his face is gone.
This is a wood stove. This ain't no little joke.
We're talking a fire, man. A fire.
We're talking major damage.
Like if he falls in it, he can die. You know what I'm saying? If it's open and he falls in there, he can literally cremate himself.
And it's secured where he really can't get in there. But
I'm a big advocate of baby proof and shit. So when you have a 2-year-old and you have this high level of fucking fire
danger
issue, then there should be some like protection around it.
Oh, there is, but it doesn't matter. He'll climb the wall. This guy's a tiger.
I got a wall. You know, he's just wild, man. My 2-year-old's out of control, dog.
I'm telling
you. Not your kids, Mike. No.
I personally wouldn't put my.
How about this, right? My 2-year-old goes over to my 7-year-old and just fucking bitch slaps her in the face. Bang!
For no reason.
For no reason. And he knows what it is. You get what I'm saying? So now what am I supposed to do? I can't let him do it. I can't let him bitch slap my daughter.
And we talked to him plenty of times. Not like he's never been told.
And yo, he's so tough. I slap his ass. I
Well,
can't even
okay,
hit his ass
all right,
hard enough to make him care because he wears a diaper. You know what I'm saying? So he'll be doing shit
Yeah,
like
so
he'll be
I-
choking my other son, pulling his fucking hair. He's a little demon.
I can understand that, but does he learn from the ass beatings?
That's the only thing he learns from.
Yep.
So
It's the
he
only thing
stopped
they
doing
respect.
it?
You got to understand, there's
stopped
different
doing it?
people that have different genetic makeups. We're Sicilian. My kids are Sicilian and Cuban. They are literally firecrackers, and they have no respect. They're
Yeah,
just
but I'm saying, does he
rebellion.
stop doing it once he gets an ass beating?
Mhm.
He stops.
He
It's
stops.
the only thing that'll stop them.
Yeah.
You
He-
can't punish a
so-
kid that says
so-
no and gets off the bed.
Most of the
All
time,
right,
you don't
so
even get.
one
Most of the time, it's
accident
not even
is
hit.
not-
It's just the threat of hitting.
What do you do when you put your kid in timeout and they say "fuck you" and they get off the chair? You know what I'm saying?
I don't
It's
deal
true.
with that shit. I don't. I'm like maybe just fucking genetics, but I don't.
Yeah,
deal
my
with
kids
that.
are just genetic animals, bro. They're savages.
You gotta understand,
I
everybody's different
literally don't
genes.
deal with that shit.
You have calm genes in you.
My
We
kids are
don't.
not docile. They will straight up attack you.
Don't get too crazy, but yeah,
I'm
he's-
serious. They will attack you. They're
Yeah,
serious.
my daughter's a beast and she'll defend herself, but she doesn't do it without having a moral compass about her. Like
My-
that's the one thing I can say about my daughter is when she defends herself and she takes it to somebody's ass, she says, "This is why I did it, and I
Whoop
already
that
told him to
ass."
stop. I already told him to stop, and this is why I attacked them." And that's it. She has a whole explanation about it, why she did what she did. It's not because she's a straight asshole.
But that's a whole different story. You don't have that. If you had my grandchildren, you would lose your mind.
Might kill them.
You
Yo.
really will. I like Babylon is falling. Whoop that ass. That's what I'm telling
I
you.
like how they do it in the country.
can't.
The country
I can't.
folks.
Whoop
I
that
feel
ass.
like
I'm not on the
such a
country
sack of
level yet,
shit.
but the people
I
out here in
swear
the
to God.
country, their kids don't listen. They make them go out to the woods and pick out a switch.
I
And when they
know,
get
but
back
I
with it, they
like,
whip them with it.
like I got my ass kicked as a kid as well, but I just feel
Whoop that
personally,
ass.
I just feel like
Nope.
I just can't. Like I feel like a sack of shit when I put hands on a little child. Honestly.
Oh, me too. But
Everybody
you gotta,
does.
you gotta
Sack of
eat it. You
shit.
know what I'm saying? You gotta feel like shit, but know that you're keeping them in the right direction.
So, and it's like, cry now or cry a lot more later. Which
I'd
one
rather
do you
whoop
choose?
some ass than have my kids grow up to be hookers and crackheads. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, your kid's gonna be a little arsonist.
Might be an arsonist. I'd rather be an arsonist than a hooker and a crackhead, though.
Or we put them in the UFC or some shit.
I know. I just can't. I swear to God, I feel so bad. I swear to God, there was one time in my life I spanked my daughter in her hand. I spanked her. You know when you like bad kid and you hit them in the hands? I did that and I felt like the biggest sack of shit in the fucking world. Because you know why? She didn't learn anything from that. She
Put it
didn't
this way,
learn a
Sue Ann. I've
goddamn
never
thing from
bruised my child, though. I've never actually inflicted
I would
enough
certainly
to
fucking
bruise a
hope not.
child. You know what I'm
Jesus
saying?
Christ. I
Like
would
he
hope
never,
not.
they never got a black and blue.
There's an
Yeah.
art to this ass whooping shit. I tell you,
For,
It's an art.
it's an
I love
for
art.
the better part,
Listen,
for me,
I took plenty of ass whippings. I've got hit with belts. I've got hit with belt buckles. I've hidden belts from my father. Growing
I
up.
never got hit with a belt buckle. I've gotten
I
hit with a
swear,
belt.
I used to hide the belt from my father.
bruh.
My mother was the #1 champion of chancletas. Well, she'll fucking
Oh, the
pistol whip-
chancleta.
Yeah,
Oh,
she'll
the
pistol whip her fucking
chancleta.
slipper on your ass. Yep.
That's a
And,
Cuban thing too.
Is your mom Spanish?
I'm Puerto Rican.
Yeah,
Oh, there you go. My wife's Cuban. She be breaking out the chancleta, bro.
I know. And fucking we learned that's why I'm good at dodgeballs because of chancletas.
Gunny,
I
you were
swear
gonna
to
say
God.
something.
Well,
I got it from my I got it from my dad. I got it from my grandparents on both sides, and then I got it at school because I went to all boys Catholic school where there was the nuns and the brothers and the priests and whatnot, and these were old school Catholic, you know, they had the paddle. And they had other ways to torture your happy ass.
Yeah.
They had I'll never forget this. This is a true story. I mean, I could tell you all the shit, you know, and for years, my dad told me that, you know, this is for your own good. You know, everybody heard that one. This is for your own good. And I never believed it. And I, up until the day he passed, I thanked him. Thank you for beating my ass. You know, I never believed it until I got older, but you know, the brothers and the nuns, with the nuns, it was more, you know, it was a ruler. That's just not just in the movies, man. They beat your ass with a yardstick.
They did.
You know, they had a pew. They had a church pew with no legs on it. It was just a church pew on the floor. This was in the disciplinarian's office. I shit you not. Grade school. Had to be at least 3rd, 4th grade. And they on the church pew, they would make you kneel on the church pew, on this wooden church pew. They would make you roll up your pant legs and make you kneel in this old, you could tell there were marks in the wood from the kids kneeling on this thing, bare kneed kneeling on this thing since like the 1950s. You could tell this church pew was from like the 30s. This shit was hand carved, hand stained, all that. And they would make you hold up, you know, they would put the dictionary, you'd have to hold your hands, you have to hold your arms out at your sides or out in front of you. And they would put a Bible on one hand and a dictionary in the other. And you have to hold your arms out, you know, and your arms started getting tired. And the brother would come by and he would see that, pow, pick your arms back up. Pow, pick your arms back up, you know?
That's
and I remember
crazy.
I thought I was cool. I thought I was cool. And, you know, well, you know, Dad, you know, since you're beating me and, you know, and everybody's beating me at school, I'm going to go to Johnny Law and tell on you.
Mhm.
That's okay. Cool. Check this out. Let's go for a ride real quick. Go for a ride real
Yep.
quick.
Oh,
My dad
that's
took me
funny
down
shit.
my dad took me down to Hope Haven. I never forget this. That's how long ago it was. I was a kid. Hope Haven. And it was a foster home for foster children and orphans. And it was all ran by guess who? The nun. It was like a former monastery. Everything was all, you know, that wooden and oak and checkerboard tile floors, and you know that kind of puke green walls, and you know that kind of dim lighting. They still use candles in some part of the building, you know, natural gas lamps, you know, because it was all state funded and shit.
Oh shit, you was in
And
a world of pain.
oh, bruh. And he's like, and he showed me. He took me in there where they had all the children in one room, and they all slept in like, you know, military bunk beds and cots. And he's like, you know, and he showed me the bathroom where it was like the military, but you know, this is for like 8, 9, 10-year-old children, orphans. And it was one shower. It was one pillar in the middle of the room with like, it was like a prison shower, Mike. You know what I'm saying? It had one pillar in the middle of the room, and the pillar had, you know, 6 shower heads. And so it was 12 children. So you had to take turns, you know, with the other, and they, you know, he showed me the lunch hall, and it was all run by the priests and the nuns and the brothers. He's like, okay, you tell on me. And they're going to take you away from me, and you're going to spend from, you know, you're 8 years old now. You're going to spend the next 10 years of your life in a place like this. So go ahead and tell on me. Go ahead.
Listen, I can tell you story after story, man.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
almost
man.
what Pops did. He didn't go that far. He was just like, well, you know what? If they take you, I won't have to deal with your shit no more.
Yep.
So go ahead.
I used to
Yep.
tell them, "God, call them. They're gonna take you in the orphanage, and they don't got Xbox in that place. So
Yep.
go ahead. I want them to take you. I'm not coming to see you. I don't give a shit." And he'd be like,
Yep.
you know, I never put up with that stuff. I remember one day. Now, in my days, in the you could be like, we were 16 years old going to clubs, because you had if you had a fake birth certificate, or you had your friend's license, there was no picture. So we used to go out at 16 and go to clubs and be out till 3, 4 in the morning. So I used to try to get home around 2 because I knew my mother was a torturer. One day it was like 3:30. I knew I was getting a beating, but I thought it would get it in the morning, right? So I opened the door real quiet. It's pitch dark. I mean, pitch dark. I get in the house, I close the door, and I just feel, boom, a fist hit me right in the face. Boom, another. I'm talking like unloading, like you were having a fight with your enemy. 2 shots to the face. Boom, boom. I was like dizzy. I didn't know what hit me. And then I look and I see my father in like the moonlight coming through one of the drapes. And he goes, "That's because your mother kept me all night. Kept me up all night." And then he turned around, walked upstairs, and went to bed.
Hey, did you know?
He waited for me.
Now
Behind a
these
Jumped
little
out.
motherfuckers.
Pops,
think
you're
they
gonna love
think
this
you
shit.
have
You
to.
ready? In Missouri, right? I don't know if you knew this. You're allowed to beat your kids. It's the law. I'm not kidding. Corporal punishment is allowed.
Some states still have it on the books.
You can't be punished in Missouri as long as you don't injure your child. You know what I mean? It has to
Right.
be, like I said, I whoop my kid's ass, but in a very controlled manner, where I'm
Yeah,
not trying to inflict damage on them.
It's actually
know what I mean?
a technique.
You're actually allowed to get beat in school here. Your teachers can whoop your ass in Missouri. Did you know that?
I know that we have to discipline our children, but how the fuck do you feel good? Like I can't do it. I just can't. I'll feel like it's like almost like beating a fucking little fuzzy little puppy.
I think you got
Like, I
the
just
wrong
can't
idea.
do
I think you're thinking about fighting your children, and there's a big difference.
No, I think she's just got a really good kid,
Hands.
and she don't got a
Like-
demon that tortures
No,
her.
she's
Yeah.
thinking we're talking about knuckles to the face, like
No.
your dad and you
No,
know.
but like
No.
No. We're talking a little
Shoot.
pat on the bottom.
You got your ass whipped once in a while, right? When you were a
I
kid.
got my ass fucking handed to me as a kid.
So you
with
know what
belt-
we're talking about. Like,
belt buckles
well,
and
the
all
belt
that
buckles
shit.
abuse. That's a
But-
little too far.
But I never like anything I did didn't fucking warrant that amount of abuse. Like literally, I did little kid shit,
I'm
so it
all,
didn't warrant that amount of physical.
well, then you had an
Like,
abusive
active.
parent. Then maybe whatever my
What-
kid got
what do you
disciplined,
kids-
he warranted it.
What do your kids do that warrant an ass beating? Like, what would you do to a grown ass man that was in front of you that warrants an ass beating?
What do you mean, a
But
kid
you-
or a man? What do you?
Like I just said, my kids
Well,
hit each
I'm just
other.
saying, like
I don't
if
play
you
with the
can't-
violent
if-
shit.
Like if you can't address a man that disrespects you the same way that you address a little kid, then you're wrong.
Oh, I'll
No,
cut a
if-
motherfucker. I don't care.
If my kid is, let's say, 12 years old and he's drinking whiskey in the woods with his friends,
Yeah, that's a problem.
that's a problem. Okay,
Yeah,
a man doing that ain't a problem. So, when your kid deserves, he's doing something that is dangerous, that he can actually harm himself.
but the ass, like
He has to get an ass whooping. My kid's in the woods drinking at 12 years old. He's got to, even though I did it too. I'm not no angel.
I never raised a
gotta
man.
get an ass
so,
whooping.
like I've never raised a man, so I don't understand any of that. And
No.
I literally never raised any kids. I have an 8-year-old that I'm raising, and in
You're-
her
yeah.
whole 8 years of life, I've never put a fucking goddamn finger on her.
But you didn't have to. You don't have a
like-
you
like,
don't have a
discipline
demon
her like
child.
that.
You don't have a demon child.
Bro, Babylon is great, bro. Babylon said, lying to me, chop in the throat.
Oh, I love that. The chop in the throat, she says, is the best. That was my favorite line, she said. She said, oh, by the way, if people don't know what a chonletta is, whatever that you call it, that's a sandal.
chancleta.
Chancleta.
Yeah, that's a sandal.
You know what happened with me the first time I seen that? Because I never experienced that because I'm Italian, right? So My daughter-in-law's Cuban, so she took it off and boom. So I was like, "Yo, what is that? I like that." You know who I started doing it to? My dog. As soon as I would take my foot out of my shoe and my sandal, my dog would be like,
the fucking
Yo, Babylon, you
My
easy with the
dog.
chops in the
have
throat, yo. You
beef
can kill
galore
somebody
with
when
the
you chop them in the
chocolate
throat.
shit.
I
Really
know.
easy.
She said one swift chop to the throat, Mel.
You gotta be easy with the chops to the throat though. The larynx could be crushed with like 8 pounds of pressure or some
Well,
shit
I'm
like
saying,
that.
my mom was like basically almost like a single mom.
I think she
like,
really is.
growing up,
She probably
and
did
she
chop
had
her like
4
easy.
of us.
Hey, I've
and
been
we
chopped in
used
the
to
throat,
fucking
bro. You know what I'm
battle.
saying? My mom has chopped the fuck out of me in the throat. All right.
The worst thing my mom has ever done to us was hit us with her chancleta. You know that we used to go and run under blankets and laugh our ass off at my mom when she was losing her shit.
I got good
I
at it
love you,
though.
Bobby,
I
I'm
used to put
sorry.
like ass protection in my if I knew I was getting a beating, I had like
you put
a thin
fucking
book in
quilt
my
over
thing.
you.
So yeah, I had
Yeah,
like
we used
ass
to hide the
protection.
belt and shit. I
Or
swear to
like
God, we
put
used to
3
hide the
pairs of
belt.
underwears on and shit, like build it up a little bit.
Exactly. Yep. And that's what we used to do. And we would giggle. We would be under the quilt, all the quilts and shit, and giggle. And it was funny as shit. And we used to hide the belt.
It's no
Do
wonder
all that
between
goofy shit.
between the beatings and the torture and the you know living a hard life and growing up in a tough city. It's you know it's no wonder I did what I did for the military for so many years. It's no wonder. People are like, you know,
And
how'd
thank you
you
for
how'd
your
you do all that
service, Uncle.
satanic shit? How'd you do all that satanic shit, Guns? I'm like, you don't know. You don't know, man. You don't know.
My
You were
mom,
living in Hell's Kitchen in New York.
Right?
thank you for your
Right?
service, Uncle.
Okay,
My
you
mom
know,
was- My mom is sweet as shit. She's a fucking, she's like, oh, and she has big ass boobs. And I used to just jump on her lap and like snuggle her boobs. My mom is the most nurturing person in the world. I love her.
but
And
you're
my
lucky.
daughter, she's like, oh, I want to go to Lela's house. I want to go to Lela's house. And she's there. And my mom even, like my parents even treat her better than me. They abused me as far as I was concerned. They
Well,
fucking treat her like a queen.
Well, the grandparents could be the good guys, see, because we really don't have to discipline them.
Exactly.
We know the parents gonna do it, you know. Like, and most of the time, like, I don't really like hitting my grandkids. Only a couple of times because they just drove me crazy, a little smart. But I'll tell them, I'm gonna tell your father, and they're like, "Oh, all right, no, you know," because I'm actually living with them, so it's a little different. But my grandchildren, I'm like, I want to be like the good guy. I don't want to be. I want to be the guy just giving them candy, like, you know. Here you go.
Yeah, if you hear my ass tell it, my parents abused me. If you hear my daughter tell it, she's in fucking a lap of luxury over there. They spoil the fuck out of her.
Well, sometimes I give them candy because, all right, my son annoyed me. I'm like, all right, you want to fuck with me? Watch this. Here you
Thank
go.
you,
Here's some
Babylon.
chocolate, kids, and they're fucking all wired up, and they drive them crazy for a half hour. And I'm like, good, get them. They're like my little soldiers.
It's true. I caught my fucking ass beaten, and guess who was my grandparents. You know, my grandfather took me out fishing and for ice cream every day in the summer. I was like his favorite. Like
I want your childhood. You had a great childhood.
my grandfather loved the shit out of me. I was his interpreter, and he would take me out crabbing, fishing, and out for ice cream every day during the fucking summer. Every day. And I had 3 other siblings. He didn't take their asses out anywhere. They were assholes though, so
going to my grandparents' house was like going back 3 decades.
yeah, it was
Going
what
back to my
mine as
grandparents'
well.
house. No, my again, New Orleans, it's an old city. So my grandparents, my father's parents, I mean, they lived in a house that was literally built in the 20s. And it was the house that my father's mother grew up in. And it was handed down. And I had to do work when I went there. My grandfather was a Frenchman. And he grew up on a French farm where they had nothing, no electricity, nothing. and it was the same way. They were like anti-technology before it was even a thing. They didn't get them. My father's parents didn't. I shit you not. They didn't get a microwave. They didn't get a microwave until like 1988. Okay, I'm not kidding you. They didn't get
Uncle,
a
I
microwave
swear to
until like
God.
almost 1990. They had a wood burning stove. Okay, so I had to chop wood and split it into a certain size wood. My grandfather had the original Sears and Roebuck lawnmower, not the gas kind, the kind with the little, the rotating blades
Yeah,
on
you
it.
pushed it and the wheel and it turned.
You
Yeah.
pushed it. You had to take it out to the shed,
Yep.
and you had to file
That
it
was a
and
lawnmower?
hone it, and
Yeah.
you had to oil it. We had to do everything. They didn't have
That
a
was
microwave. They didn't have a.
legitimately the lawnmower that I use in my yard. And I got cracked on and people laughed at my ass. But yeah, and I do like that lawnmower, by the way.
I love it.
Yeah, you just roll it and it twirls and it cuts the grass and all that shit. I got cracked on by everybody, honestly.
They
Oh,
they had the original.
I did.
They had the original. They had the original. Like one of the original They kept their like original refrigerator from like 1964. Okay,
Uncle,
You
how
know-
old are you?
they had they had the original what they call the ice box, what the old people refer to as the ice box.
Yep.
They kept the ice box in the back room, and they kept it, and it was from like literally the 19 teens.
wow.
Okay, and I'm like, what is this thing doing back here? And my grandfather said, well, you got to remember, in the South, he knew everybody in the city because he was an old man, right?
Mhm.
And he had friends and connections, and he said if the power goes out, if the hurricane comes along and the power goes out, there's one of a few places in the city that the Army Corps engineers and the naval support activity will keep coming by and keep refilling with diesel fuel for the generators. And one of those
Really?
places is the old city ice house, where they still made ice blocks, because like snow cones, what we call snowballs in the South, is a big thing. So they would make these big giant chunks of ice, and he kept the ice box refrigerator from the 19 teens, because he knew if the power went out, he could run the whole house on candles on a wood stove, and he could go down to the ice house and get blocks of ice
Yeah. They
and keep the
prepared.
food cold in technology from the turn of the century.
Yep.
It was glorious.
Uncle, do you mind me asking you, how old are you?
I'm mid 40s.
You're mid-40s, huh?
Oh yeah.
How about, like, did you ever think about this? Like, I had great grandparents, right? So I'm 57, and I knew them until I was like 11. They died like at 90, both of them. My great grandmother, great grandfather. But I thought about it. I said
Yeah,
one day, these people lived through. They were born in the 1800s. They lived through the Roaring 20s. They lived through World War I. They lived through World War II. They lived through the 50s, which to me was the best time ever. And they lived through the 60s, which is like Hippieville. And they even were alive in the 70s and died like 1975. Could you imagine you seeing all that? Like just living through like Vietnam,
I
World War
know.
II, World War. These people lived like through wars and depressions and everything that we take for granted. I never lived through a war, really. Iraqi war.
I
Yeah.
That was a
wholeheartedly
war.
agree with you. If
Yep.
I could be raised and have my prime, like my teenage years during the 50s, that would have been my time.
Hands
Oh, yeah.
down.
Absolutely.
50s was the
Yep.
best time to like
Yeah, I
be
think
in
so.
America.
Yep.
Heroes
Yeah,
were
I
born in the
agree.
50s. You had Elvis. I mean,
It
You
was
had baseball
yeah,
players, Joe
capitalism.
DiMaggio. You
You
had
had wealth.
heroes.
You
Yeah,
had
Mickey
everything. The
Mantle, everybody.
music,
Oh.
sports, music, just
And
the
the
core,
politicians
like
actually cared
everything.
about you a little bit, maybe
Yeah,
5%.
yeah,
Like
that
they
would be
actually
my
cared that you
optimum
were a
time.
human being, maybe. You know, they didn't treat you
I,
like a super slave. Just you were like a medium slave.
yeah, 50. If I can be somewhere personally, it would be single in the 50s.
The greatest
Um,
time.
yeah, and
I would
I'm
love that. You pull up with your
yeah,
car and
me
they're
too.
serving you food on roller skates. The girls,
Exactly.
Yeah.
but like I've been to a place like that, but it's fake. It's not real. Like in those days, you go to
No,
the like hamburger place. That was like everybody was there. It was like a party. You know.
Uncle,
Yeah.
I thought you were so much older than you are. You're like my age.
But those days are gone, right? I didn't. I wish I
They're
would have lived
gone.
in. Yeah. Now we got a lot to look forward to. Oh, make sure you're 6 feet apart and put that diaper on your face. This is the world
With
we
the
live in.
diaper on your face, yep.
I mean,
I
what
swear to
kind
God,
of life is that for children?
I swear to God, Uncle, I thought you were a lot older than us. You're like mid
No,
40s.
no. Well, I mean, when I, you
You're like
know,
my age.
yeah,
Oh, here
growing
we go.
growing up,
I'm
you got to remember, deep South New Orleans was
I love that.
20 years behind socially than the rest of the country.
Mm.
You when I was a kid, I'm let me try to censor myself. When I was a kid, a certain class, a certain skin pigment could still say words to other people of other skin pigments on the street and get away with it.
Not no
Uh,
more.
You know, you could
oh,
think
yeah, I got you.
I don't agree with it. I grew up with it and I never it
I
always
don't even
bothered
care
me.
anymore.
It always
I'm
bothered
so
me,
tired
but
of it.
the whole city was 20 years behind socially. And there's a lot of old, like Pops was saying, a lot of old world people that, you know, I mean, both my grandparents, you know, my mother's side of the family was her mother was Cajun and her father was, you know, was first generation Italian born in America.
Yeah,
You know?
but these people don't understand that. They don't understand that.
No,
I
no.
like-
They're
They
gonna just
don't.
attack you for bullshit. They don't understand that whatsoever. And
I
so
enjoy
that's why I really don't give a shit anymore about their selective outrage. And I threw in the towel already. I'm not.
yeah, I don't you hear me talk on the streams all the time. Pops and Mike will tell you I go seeking for stuff that some people would consider say sucks. I go looking for it. I go looking for stuff that sucks. You know, once a month, just to test my own ass. I do stuff without electricity or technology. I force myself to do stuff that sucks. You know what? Some people, I love it. I
would
love
think
it.
that's fun
Well, I think
though.
it brings you down to reality. That's what I think
swear
it
to God,
does.
I've been
It's good,
fucking
actually.
prepping. I've been prepping forever, and I've never been able to use any of my preps. Like to me, like I would think that would be fun, honestly. But that's my idea of a good time.
I like Babylon.
Uncle Guns is just a masochist, bro. Don't let him fool you, bro.
He got disconnected, I guess. I like Babylon though. She has a point. Like, you know what? Living through World War I and World War II was a cakewalk compared to now. Because in reality, right now, we're living through like some kind of crazy shit. We're living like with wackos running our country. Like these people want us. I don't know what they're trying to do. Make us into like China. I don't know what's going on. All I know is we're living in a sick world. Like
I can
really
sum it up for you,
sick.
Pops. We're under the fucking boot. All right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
we
the
are,
devil has really got the flame.
We're just under a fucking big boot right now, all right?
Exactly. And in Babylon, you're 100%. A selective outrage doesn't outrage me anymore. I've been desensitized. I don't give a fuck what skin color you are, what nationality you are, whatever. To me, I just don't give a shit about that.
I do too.
So,
And you know,
I'm
when I
fucking
was young,
Dude, they've been dragging my ass for being a racist. I'm far from a fucking
well, we
racist.
never
I
made a
am
big
fucking
deal of
tired
this shit
these
when I was a
fuckers.
kid. Racism,
No.
it didn't really. I
Never.
mean, we used to have a fight. with a black kid, right? It wasn't
Yeah,
racist. It was a
exactly.
fight. That's
Yes,
it. We didn't get
exactly.
into that shit. But
Yes,
today they're
now you get a fight
looking.
with a black person, and that was a fucking hate crime. What the fuck is that?
Yeah, we never got it.
That
We
is
we
crazy.
respected each other. You know, a
Look.
lot of the kids today use the N word, even the white kids, right? And they say it's part of our like culture. And I said, well, we just never said it. We just always had that respect factor. But a black person wouldn't call me a guinea either. So there was a respect, and we just. But today they're all mingling with each other, and they think it's okay to call each other all these different names. And I don't see a big deal about it. But a lot of people get offended. So just don't say it. That's my thing. I just don't care because I never did say, racist slurs at people because we just believed in respect. Because if you said something to somebody and you were getting your face punched in, you weren't like, you weren't able to pull out your phone and go, oh, I'll call the cops. That shit didn't exist. You opened your mouth, you were getting your teeth knocked in.
So
you
I got into a fight.
The
I had a kid in school, right? And this kid was black and he stole something from me. So when I seen him in the locker room, I punched him in the face and we started fighting. So his brother and his cousin, you know what I mean, and his friend, they run over and they jumped me, right? Now I could have been like, yo, that was a hate crime because they were all black. But the thing was, I was fighting a black kid and these were all his friends and family. And that was just what it was. They didn't jump me because I was white, but I could have been like that, right?
You know how many white girls in school I fucking seen get jumped because they were dating a black guy, and all the black girls fucking teamed up and said, "That's my cousin. That's my cousin," and they fucking whipped the living shit out of these white girls. That is ridiculous. That is the worst